Am I the asshole for hiding my family wealth from my boyfriend? So I, 17 female, have been dating my boyfriend Mike, 16 male, for about 3 months now. We are both juniors in high school and everything's been going pretty well between us. We met through mutual friends about 8 months ago and hit it off quickly. He's funny, kind, and down to earth. We have an amazing relationship, but our financial situations are different. My family is pretty well off. Not rich, no mansions, yachts, etc., but we live in a nice house, take 1 to 2 vacations per year, and I don't really have to stress about money. I only work just so that I'm not sitting at home doing nothing. But that being said, I've always been taught not to flaunt it or bring it up. We drive normal cars and live a fairly average lifestyle, even if we have more savings than others. I never talk about money with people. Mike's family doesn't have as much. He's mentioned how they struggle sometimes to pay bills and how much they have to budget for everything. And because of this, he's made a few comments about rich kids being spoiled or out of touch, which is why I didn't bring up my family's situation. I didn't want him to see me differently or feel awkward about the difference between us. I don't care what his financial situation is. I love him anyway. He's seen my house and knows my parents run a business, but he doesn't know about all my parents' assets, which make a lot of money and is what is keeping us comfortable. So he doesn't know how much we really have. Well, recently, Mike and I had dinner with my family along with my cousins. We all sat down and talked about traveling in general, and one of my cousins mentioned a vacation home that my parents had. She was talking about the cabin that we had in the mountains. Our family loves camping and hiking, so we vacation there sometimes. Mike went quiet, but I could tell that something was up. Later, when we were alone, he asked why I never told him that my family had so much money. I tried to explain that it wasn't something that I thought was important, and I didn't want him to feel weird about it. Besides, he knew that I was more well off than him, he just didn't know the full extent. That's when he got a bit quiet and said something that caught me off guard. He mentioned that I could have helped him out with some of the things that he's been struggling with financially, like gas money or when his car needs repairs a few months ago. He said that he was not asking for handouts, but he said that it feels like I was hiding something from him when I could have made things easier. 16-year-old opens his mouth, opinion discarded. I told him that I didn't want to make things awkward between us by offering money, and I didn't think that it was my place to get involved with his finances. But now, he says that it feels like I wasn't being honest, and that maybe I don't trust him enough to share that part of my life. Over the next few weeks, Mike started getting a little invasive. He looked up my house on Zillow and was shocked at the value. Mike showed me his screen and was upset that he didn't know how rich we were. He also started looking up my family members on social media sites to see what they do and how rich they are. Cousins, uncles, aunts. I got really mad and told him that I didn't appreciate him digging through my family life and my finances are not his business. I asked him to stop being weird. Mike then responded that he was just trying to fully understand what my lifestyle is like, but I think he's going completely off the rails. I didn't mean for it to turn into such a big deal. I was just trying to avoid making him feel uncomfortable or like he was less than me. I also believed that my family finances are irrelevant, but now I'm wondering if I should have been more open from the start. Am I the asshole? In the comments, OP on how she met her boyfriend. So we actually met through mutual friends, and we do not go to the same school. I met him through a friend from his school. We met around Christmas and we all started hanging out for 5 months and then started dating. He has visited my parents' business, but we don't talk about it often. Just never comes up a lot. Sometimes he'll ask how the business is going, and I'll reply that it's going good, and that's that. We both bonded over video games. I do actually know him well. We share hobbies, dreams, goals, interests, but I never brought up my family money because it's not important and it's not even my money. So while I'm surprised by how he feels after finding out a bit more about my family, I disagree with you on that I never knew him. OP on why she wants to work and not be entitled to her parents' money. I don't wish to sound rude, but it's true and I won't take that back. I do only work so I have something to do. It's productive. I don't necessarily need money right now. My parents have literally told me this hundreds of times. Don't work for the money, work for the experience, and we'll take care of the money part. Not the asshole. He's not asking for handouts while, checks notes, asking for a handout? Well, if I'd known that you were rich earlier, I would have tried to manipulate money out of you sooner. You were so inconsiderate. That sentence did feel very backwards to me. Also, he was asking about you helping him a few months ago with his car repairs, which sounds like very early in your relationship. It can be awkward when people have different financial positions, and the way that you handled it is the right way, as it is no one's concern and not something that you should flaunt or assume that anyone needs to know about. You will find other posts with people in a similar position whose significant others become strange after finding out that their partner's families are well off. This seems particularly true of men with female partners from well-off families. Even if your extended family is doing well, even very well, it has nothing to do with you or your ability to hand out money to your friends and their families. Anyone who implies that is not somebody who you need to be around, however painful it might be that sometimes friendships could be ended or affected by someone's knowledge and expectations surrounding your family's resources. Not the asshole. What the hell is this guy's issue? You've been dating for only 3 months, and he expects you to financially support him? He's acting just as entitled as the spoiled rich kids that he complains about. You didn't deceive him at all. It's not like he outright asked how rich your family was, and you lied to him or anything. He sounds like a whiny jerk. I've lived in poverty as well, and never would have acted so unhinged over this, and I would have been embarrassed to have a partner start offering to pay for stuff like that. People also seem to forget it's OP's parents that are well off. The money belongs to OP's parents. It isn't her business to offer up loans from parents' money. Yeah, hey look, now that you've agreed to start dating me today, your parents should, give you some money so that you can pay for my car repairs and my petrol because your parents are rich and that's just the right thing to do in this relationship. And when you ask them to pay for these things, they totally won't ask you to kick my ass to the curb. Definitely not. You should just lie to your parents about what the expenses are for, because that'd be fine and dandy. I think in this instance, OP, he is 16 years old, you are 17. Give yourselves some time for your prefrontal cortexes to develop and figure out how the world works. I can empathize with him though. When you see people that have more than you, that are seemingly doing better in your life, you can see the immense amounts of wealth that OP's family has. Yeah, you can be jealous, absolutely, but that doesn't give him the right to start manipulating you from the get-go and trying to get money out of you. Screw this guy, you're not the asshole. Get rid of him as soon as you can, please. And now, onto the update. So when I made the original post, it was a few days after our argument. I wasn't going to post an update, but lots of people wanted one, and stuff actually happened, so here we go. Yesterday I called Mike and asked if we could meet up for coffee to discuss what to do next. He agreed. As we talked, I explained my family's finances are private and it was not my business to tell other people. The money isn't even technically mine, it's my parents'. This is why I didn't tell him. Mike didn't take this very well. He asked me how I could just watch him struggle for months and not do anything, how I pretended to feel bad from him when I didn't even understand how bad his life was. I responded that I did feel bad and I have been supportive. I tried to get him a job at my parents' grocery store, but he didn't like it, so he refused. I would always give rides to him since gas was expensive. I offered gas money whenever he did drive me, but he always refused since he wanted to pay for me. Even just emotionally, I was trying to be as supportive as I could while he was stressed. I acknowledged that I don't understand how hard his life is because I've never lived it, but I've done my best to be supportive emotionally. Mike just dismissed all of that and said that wasn't the point. He said that for him, the money wasn't the issue, it was trust. Oh my god. The money's not the issue, it's the trust. Shut up. Shut your mouth, Mike, you liar. He felt that I had kept something significant from him, and he's wondering what else I was hiding. He said that he wasn't asking for handouts, but knowing that I had the means to help him but chose not to made him feel unsupported. Mike explained how he felt like there was a huge gap between us now, and he will never be equal to me. He told me there was no reason for me to hide such a big secret from him. At this point, I got angry. I corrected him, saying he was asking for handouts. I mentioned our previous conversation of how he said that I could have helped him with his car and gas. I explained the money he wanted so desperately wasn't even mine, it's my family's. I told him that he wasn't entitled to the money that my parents spent over 2 decades earning. I couldn't just bail him out of whatever problems he has with money. I went back to how I did support him, just not financially. I'm ashamed to admit that I did kind of lose my cool here and almost started yelling. After that, I calmed down and explained that I would never shame him for his struggles. My family never has either. They love him. We don't care about how much money someone has. We talked for some more, but I eventually told him that I wanted to break up. It wasn't because he was upset that I hid my wealth, but it was for digging into my family members' lives. I told him that it was extremely invasive, and I couldn't forgive that, and I couldn't feel comfortable around someone who would do that. It was a breach of trust for me. Mike also told me that he wanted to break up since he didn't feel comfortable in a relationship where the financial gap is so big and that our lives were just too different. We ended the conversation and parted ways. The good thing is that he goes to a different school, so I won't be seeing him around. Part of me feels sad, since I do love him. It was my first relationship, and I wanted it to work, but I also feel relieved because I wasn't sure if I could take whatever Mike would do if I stayed. I really didn't like him snooping in my family's lives. I'm wondering if I made a mistake ending the relationship now, and it really sucks. Was I too harsh? I'm not even sure. I don't think I'll be dating anytime soon. I'm not too eager now. And just to be clear, I don't hate Mike. I do think that he probably just never saw money like ours, or that he was just shocked in general, and I get that he's 16, and I'm sure that he'll grow out of this mentality. I hope he does have a better life, but I can't continue with him. I don't like that he tried to dig into my family members' lives. I also want to clarify some things. A lot of people were asking about the car. Mike's car is old and used, and it was gifted to him by his uncle since he doesn't use it anymore. It's about 8 years old. Mike didn't buy the car. Mike doesn't know the true value of my parents' money. That's why he was digging around. It seems like people on Reddit thought that I was perceived middle class or poor. I never was. Mike and others knew that I lived a life that was well off. I just never talked about money, that's all. Mike doesn't know about my parents' other assets. He started thinking that we had more money than he thought because he found out about the vacation home. That's why he tried digging through my family's information. He still doesn't even know close to anything since my parents keep their assets secret. Even I don't know about them. People don't start digging into you until you give them a reason to. Okay, so apparently 8 years is not that old for a car. Sorry I don't know how cars work, but it's been heavily used anyway. In the comments, not the asshole. You don't need to share this info until you're comfortable. I didn't know a fraction of the wealth of my wife's parents until after we were married. Didn't really make a difference to me, other than some behaviors made more sense after I knew. Don't take this the wrong way, but I would lean on the side of caution and not share anything regarding your family's wealth or status until you're married/committed and comfortable. Money does odd things to people, even those who are normally good. And OP says, after all this, I might do just that, or at least until engagement. You're not putting yourself in his shoes at all. He's struggling and you do nothing because what if he turns out to be a gold digger? If you were never going to give him a chance, you shouldn't have led him on. If you have weird hang-ups about poor people, then I guess just date rich ones. OP says, it's not that I was scared he would be a gold digger, I did get nervous he would react negatively, but at the same time, it's my family's wealth, not mine. We only dated for 3 months, which is too soon to open up about all my financial secrets. And I did nothing? I did help out. I tried to get him a job, but he said no. I drove him around. I've been there to emotionally support him. Not the asshole. I see red flags. You're right to keep your family's finances private. You know what's theirs is theirs. The important things when you date with a financial gap is to not pretend that you understand their struggles and to not ask them to pay for the dates. Because he is a man and you are a woman, for example. However, you don't have to disclose the extent of your family's wealth. Knowing that you don't struggle financially is enough. An 8-year-old car is basically brand new, especially if it's made in 2016. That's just ridiculous. You absolutely made the right move. You'll process this. It'll hurt, it'll suck, but you will get stronger and wiser because of all of this. Awesome you stuck with your convictions and what you believed, and good on you for understanding your worth. Good luck. My car is 14 years old and runs fine, unless you live in the salt mines. 8 is nothing. I don't know why commenter 3 expected 17-year-old girl to pay for a 16-year-old boyfriend. Honestly, it isn't her money to give. She offered gas money and he refused. It really isn't her job in a 3-month-long relationship to give him money to fix his car. And I think any parents of means would not want their kids paying car repairs for their high school boyfriend or girlfriend of 3 months. My cousin is very rich. If her teen daughter was going to pay for a boyfriend's car repair, my cousin would say, "I didn't sign off on you getting a job so you can support another human being. That's his parents' job, or he can save up. I don't want you working if you're just going to throw it all away." I can't say I disagree on this take, especially with how disrespectful the boyfriend is being. It should go without saying that my cousin is definitely not giving any of her or her husband's money to a boyfriend. Man, I was homeless at 16. If someone had offered me a job then, I would have jumped at it. The ex is going to learn some tough lessons if he doesn't get that ego in check one day. Well, I'd like to know what the boyfriend considers struggle. His 8-year-old car is referred to as old, and it was given to him. MFA, I'm 42 and drive a 16-year-old car that I think is pretty nice. Wife has the nicer car at 8 years old for carrying the kids, and that thing is friggin' sweet. Like, are these people Beverly Hills poor or something? Would I be the asshole here for asking for paternity test because I don't remember getting her pregnant? This is more of a request for advice than am I the asshole post, but here it is. I, male 35, have been with my wife, female 33, for the last 10 years. We got married 3 years ago. For the past 6 months, our sex life has been non-existent, mainly because I travel for work a couple of times a month. When I'm home, I work long hours. I try my best to help with housework and spend time with my wife, but I pass out the second that I lie down. My energy level is depleted. My wife quit her job when we got married, so I can't just take a break from work. It was her choice. I had no say in it. Today, she told me that she's pregnant. I was shocked because the last time we had sex was many months ago, so I joked, "You got pregnant from cuddling? That's the closest we've had to intimacy." And she kept insisting, "Don't you remember?" I told her that I honestly didn't, and she said, "Well, we started making out, and then you kinda passed out, so I just rode you." Oh well. And she giggled. I asked her, "While I was passed out?" And she said, "No, you were kind of awake. You had a big smile afterward. What's the big deal here?" I told her that I would at least remember some of it. Come on. And she got mad and asked if I was accusing her of something, and I said no, but I'm just very confused. Am I the asshole for thinking my wife might have cheated on me? I've been home on occasion, so my traveling hasn't been constant. Do I need her permission to get a paternity test? If she hasn't cheated, why don't I feel happy and joyful? I feel like an asshole. In the comments, OK Scheme says, "Your response has got to be, so either you cheated or you assaulted me. Not the asshole. Get the paternity test and I'm sorry for what's happening to you." OP replies, "Buddy, I work like a dog. I work so many hours, it's unreal. No, I haven't satisfied my wife in 6 months. I've been shamed by my brother already. My energy and sex drive is 0. I don't see her as a cheater. It was just a dumb thought. Why would your brother be so invested in your marriage, or your wife for that matter? Definitely suspicious, very suspicious." OP says, "My brother basically raised me because my dad was an alcoholic, abusive piece of shit. He has always protected me, and I always respected him. He's a very tough guy, and believes that I need to man up and don't be a whiny pussy, and I should focus on my wife and the baby instead of overthinking and ruining my marriage. Quote, he has always protected me." Now, I'm not jumping on the brother is the father train just yet, but it is a little suspect that someone that's always protected you isn't jumping to try to protect you now from potential paternity fraud. I could believe a tough guy that tells people to man up trying to split hairs about the unconscious sex being assault, but I do have a hard time believing that a tough guy would be so cavalier about his little brother being cheated on and unknowingly raising another man's child. No matter what you do, get a DNA test before it's too late. Good old faking memory loss gaslighting. It's either gaslighting and she cheated, or it's assault. I'm so alarmed by her description of how they apparently had sex. She's giggling and saying that you were kinda passed out, so I just rode you? What the hell? How about don't ride people that aren't conscious? Jesus effing Christ. Also, the fact that she made the decision to quit her job and you completely support her while you had no say in the matter is such a shitty entitled thing to do. This isn't an equal partnership. You should have a say in the matter if the consequences of her actions mean that you have to completely finance all her needs. I completely agree. Best case scenario here is she casually admits to assaulting him and giggles about it. That's horrifying. Yeah, the giggling while admitting that he wasn't conscious makes it even worse. I looked at some of OP's comments, and he said that when he confided in his brother, quote, called me a whiny pussy and told me to be grateful that she still wanted to have sex with you. He said that I was a failure as a husband, and that's why my wife had to please herself this way, and I should stop bitching. What? OP should be grateful that his wife assaulted him? Hell nah. I was gonna say that the paternity test is the least of your worries, but now that I think on it further, you definitely need a paternity test. But, if it does turn out that your brother is the father, I don't know how that works on paternity testing. This is just such a messy and all-round disgusting situation. I think you need to get her to write that down somewhere. Get some solid proof of her words and her accusations and her little giggling, and get straight to the police, my man. Get straight to a lawyer and do what you gotta do against this vile excuse of a woman. Get rid of your brother as soon as possible as well, because what is going on there? And protect yourself with as many legal avenues as possible. Absolutely not the asshole here. What the hell? Updates. I got a lot of DMs asking for an update. I'll be seeing a lawyer this week, and then I can share more. I checked her phone, I'm not proud of it, and yes, she and my brother bonded over feeling like lonely spouses who were neglected by their partners. While I was away for work trips, he would tell his wife that he was working night shifts and would have sleepovers at our place. They both acknowledged how the arrangement felt both right and wrong, as neither of them wanted to leave their spouses, but still enjoyed the physical and emotional aspects of the affair. When I confronted her, she got angry about me going through her phone and said she felt violated. Honestly, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She insisted the baby is probably mine because we've been having quickies. According to her, it happened more than once, when I was half asleep, and she said, I only wanted your baby. Ugh, God, gross. I told her that I don't believe a single word she says. I told her she needs to move out and we'll figure out what to do after a paternity test. I also told her that I'm cancelling all her extracurricular activities because they're not my responsibility anymore. She said that I'm financially abusing her, but to be honest, I really didn't care. I told her that I'd be coming to her next baby appointment because I need to talk to our family doctor. She's currently staying at her best friend's place. Today, she messaged me saying she's spotting and blaming me for it, claiming that I've stressed her out and increased her chances of miscarriage. She said I'm a shitty father and an abusive spouse. Honestly, I'm not even sure if she's ever been pregnant. I asked if she needed a ride to the hospital or her friend's address so that I could take her. She didn't answer. So here I am. I blocked my brother from everywhere. I don't have a brother anymore. In the comments, Gameboy330 says, tell your brother's wife everything. And OP says, I already have. I sent her the screenshots of their messages and then blocked both her and my brother. I don't care anymore about him. Well done, OP. Screw your brother and ex. Hopefully your parents and extended family see why you did this and don't side with him. Hopefully your sister-in-law takes him for everything in any divorce. I'll say the same thing I said last time. Someone who didn't want to have sex with you sober isn't going to SA, because that's what it is, you in your sleep. If she really is pregnant, it's probably your brother's or someone else's. Brother makes sense because you share DNA and she could pass it off as yours regardless of how it looks. Definitely do the DNA test. OP would have been financially abusive if he told her to quit her job. She did that on her own volition, and therefore she really screwed around and found out. I just did a quick search so someone can correct me if I'm wrong. If OP hadn't discovered the cheating, there might have been enough genetic markers to strongly suggest that he's the father, if his brother had actually knocked up OP's wife. There is more testing that can be done in cases like this if the center knows the potential fathers are brothers. How diabolical of the soon-to-be ex and brother. Am I the asshole for being indifferent that she may be spotting? The genetic markers may have been similar, but there would still be enough to say that OP isn't the father. I feel like he's done everything he can here to look out for himself, and yeah, good job OP for everything that you've done. She continues to try to manipulate you and project everything that she's done onto you. How are you abusive here exactly? How are you the one stressing her out like, oh no, I got caught and now I'm stressed, this is your fault for catching me. Now my spotting is your fault, you're a monster. The projection is honestly blinding me, the light is so harsh on my eyes, oh no. It's terrible when the consequences of my actions finally catch up with me. Terrible that. She deserves the worst, keep your brother blocked, and move on with your life, OP. I hope things get better from here for you. Thank you for sharing your story with us. Our next post is by user Erilyn, titled, Am I the asshole here for not wanting to talk to my now ex-boyfriend after he almost sabotaged my college life? I, 21 female, was dating someone, 21 male, for a year. We hit it off really well when we first started, and at the time, I'd just gotten out of an abusive relationship with someone else. However, after December of 2022, things were nothing but downhill. My boyfriend at the time had gotten kicked out of his father's house, so he was living with me in my grandmother's house for a short period. Unfortunately, I ended up getting kicked out of there for a lot of things that also happened within my family, so I moved back in with my parents, while my boyfriend moved in with his brother a month or so later. While he stayed with his brother, he got a job at Wendy's, but I noticed that his demeanor towards me started to change rapidly. He would yell at me a lot for defending myself in regards to his friends, would block me anytime an argument took place over silly things, and he even broke up with me before because I had asked him for $50 for laundry after doing his laundry and my own when we were living together, and other things I did to provide for us because we were in a dark place. I never understood why he changed or why he acted this way, but this past month and 3 weeks really take the cake. So fast forward to November. We had already gotten back together at this point. He was playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel with his friends, and he was losing. I tried asking him why he was upset, but he got angry with me, and then claimed the next day that I was condescending, and because of that, we were no longer together. Then later in the month, he had asked me to pick him up from work because he had had a horrible day, and on my way to him, he said that things have changed since the separation. I only hang around you when I have nothing better to do, or I'm bored. After he said that, I was crushed and even decided that I didn't want to celebrate my birthday by the time the 27th came. We officially called things off when the Yu-Gi-Oh! Thing took place, but I really told him off after he said that comment, so by my birthday, it has been clear that we were broken up. I had a friend in college, 19 male, who's the same age as my baby sister. We hit it off and got really close as we were working on my college project for my final. My ex didn't like that at all, going as far as to hack into my Google account 2 nights ago and delete all of my files. Even a late essay that I'd just turned in to my professor so he couldn't access the file at all. I was infuriated because he deleted a whole semester's and then some's worth of work. Even my resumes were gone, so I had to contact Google Assistants to get all my files back. Mind you, this is after already having an argument the night before and him getting physical with me to the point where I almost passed out on my staircase because he was choking me. How are you still staying with this guy? Run! He is going to kill you! He came to get his stuff the other night and apologized for everything and wouldn't stop crying. I consoled him, but I told him that I needed to be away from him and that I didn't want to speak to him because his shit hurt, and had I not gotten back my files, I would have likely failed my very first semester of college. Now I don't know what to do because it hurts a lot, and though he said he understood, he got mad at me for not talking to him yesterday, even though he knows that he's restricted and blocked everywhere. Am I the asshole here? In the comments, Montana Wild Women says, "Not the asshole. He's abusing you. Block him off everything. He's not a friend. He's an enemy trying to destroy your future. If you value your safety in schooling, you need to cut him off completely, and call the cops if he pulls any more stunts. Turn on two-factor authentication on everything and change all passwords." Not the asshole. Being choked by your partner increases the likelihood of being murdered by him by 700%. Stay away from him. He is dangerous, and be safe. Back up to the post, there is an update. Jesus, it's really been a bit over 3 months since I uploaded this. Thank you for your opinions, everyone. I do have a huge update on said matter, so I'll try to sum it up as much as I can. So, my ex tried to leak explicit images of me after I left for my trip to North Carolina. I also found out on Christmas that my ex had done things with my cousin, and they both lied to me, after I went to my cousin Invented. So there's that little sum up. Currently I'm with someone else, 23 male, and I haven't heard from my ex or my cousin after finding out everything and confronting them. As far as my schoolwork goes, I'm currently doing my spring semester and still trying to pick up the pieces bit by bit, but I've been healing and mentally I'm in a better situation. Thanks again for those who listened. This is a roller coaster ride. I really don't know what to say. Am I the asshole for not wanting to talk to my ex-boyfriend after he tried to ruin my college career? Are you the asshole for not going to the police and reporting him for choking you and nearly passing out? More so to yourself, not just in general there. Very interesting that the saga continues here, but I hope that you keep yourself safe and you listen to the comments and do what they tell you to do, because you may well be putting your life in unnecessary danger. Update. Hi everyone. Before I get into what I need assistance with, I want to first take this time and thank everyone who responded last time to both my other posts. I appreciate all the advice given, and it's helped me use Reddit as a way to release. Now onto the issue at hand. So I took everyone's advice and I stopped talking to the ex in question. However, a lot has happened in between then and now. My ex couldn't handle us not being together and decided to not only leak explicit images of me on an old account that I used to control. Don't worry, I was able to delete it and kick him out of all the accounts that he had access to. I had also found out the night before he leaked these videos and photos that he had done it with my cousin, 21 female, on Christmas night after she had reassured me with me and my at-the-time friend, 19 female, that she would talk to him and help me find a middle ground because of his behavior. She knew about him deleting my schoolwork, hacking into my other stuff, and being physically and emotionally abusive towards me. She actually spoke up on me leaving him a few times and said she was proud when I finally made the move to do so. When I found out that she slept with my ex, I confronted her, due to the fact that a few days before this, she had admitted to me that they kissed, but swore to me that that's all they did, and that they just had a few drinks and apologized to me. Obviously, that wasn't the case anymore. It's actually pretty funny. I was playing Mario Kart with my friends, and my ex somehow texted me on Snapchat from a different account, and his exact words were, "I'm gonna F up your night. Me and your cousin didn't just kiss, we banged. Cry about it." Along with a bunch of other colorful words. He also said he was doing this since she made it clear that we weren't cool anymore. I'd also like to point out that this was during my first vacation, so I was not at home during any of this. When I finally reach home, however, my cousin argues with me on Snapchat, essentially trying to justify her actions, and argues with my friend and says disrespectful things about her family, etc. It was a lot, and after that, we didn't speak to each other for a couple of months. After this, however, give it maybe March or April-ish, I decided to forgive her and move on from everything for my mental health, but to keep her at a distance due to me not wanting to open up again. She, however, didn't like that, and insisted that it wasn't fair that I didn't want to listen, and how I let my friend shame her due to what she did and refused to understand the point that I was making. So it broke out into an all-out war with my ex, somehow getting access to one of my alt accounts and telling me to stop talking to my cousin, which let me know that they were still talking. So by that point, I dropped it all together. Now, months later, my cousin has messaged my Instagram after months of not talking to me, saying that she wants to reconcile, and says that it's unfair that I was willing to drop it and forgive my ex and not her first. Even though I did forgive her first, and she chose not to listen to me, and basically that because we are family, I should be able to reach out and forgive her. I upfront told her that if we were family, you wouldn't have done what you did to me and lied to my face. I haven't spoken to her since that day, but she keeps apologizing and telling me that she loves me and my friend, who I don't speak to anymore. I don't know what to do here. I don't want to talk to her, but I don't want to essentially abandon someone that I've grown up with for years. I feel like I have mixed emotions. So would I be the asshole for not talking to her? Mini update. Hello everyone. I noticed all the new comments and have been reading them as much as I can. Thank you again for all the support and honest opinions. I know all of this seems drama-filled and I apologize for that. It was really bothering me mentally on how to handle it. To explain why, we aren't cousins by blood, but rather were raised to believe that we were by our parents, so I always kept that loyal regard that we were cousins regardless of the matter. So I still considered her family aside from the fact. It took a lot for me to block her, but I know it's for the best. I have great news. My mother just helped me get a new phone entirely, and since I'll be going to college in North Carolina for classes, I won't be using my current phone anymore unless needed. As far as my cousin goes, as I said yesterday, she is currently and still is blocked. Neither she or he has tried reaching out to me, so lucky for that. As for those of you who were asking why I hadn't got a restraining order against my ex or anything, the last I heard, he's currently in Maine, so he's nowhere near me. And since he doesn't know where I'm moving to and doesn't know anyone that I currently talk to in North Carolina, I'm honestly sure that I may be fine. But for the extra precaution, I plan to look into the matter in the off chance that I run into him at any point, though I honestly doubt that will be the case. I'm currently taking my art major in RCC right now, and will be continuing to do so and focusing on myself as I also stated previously. Thank you all again for your kind words and honesty. It really means a lot and it's helped me look at it from a better angle. In the comments, someone asks, why did you casually say that you forgave your cousin before him? Why would you forgive him? Oh my god. OP says, I had to explain that because when me and my cousin first argued, she believed that I decided that I'd forgive him for the shit that he did before forgiving her for what she did. And as I said in my original post, I forgave the entire situation, but wanted to keep away for my own sanity. The moment I found out they slept together, and everything else he already did, took a lot out of me at the time, and it was badly affecting my physical and mental health. So I had decided that it was best to mentally forgive, but not forget, and keep them away. Which in my original post I had explained to my cousin the first time we spoke about what she did, and I made the choice to forgive her. She, however, didn't like that and accused me of forgiving him and not forgiving her first. I don't know where she got the idea that I forgave him before her because I never said nor told her that I did. So my guess is that they were probably still talking when I made the choice to forgive her the first time and to drop the issue entirely for my own sake. OP made another comment on a different sub regarding her cousin. Wow, I didn't think that this was going to get that much attention. Thank you all for your opinions, everyone. I have taken the time to announce that I have blocked my cousin, and I'll be taking a break off Instagram for a while, since I barely have been using social medias as of late. Currently I'm doing okay. I'm taking my classes online, and have been taking my time as I prepare to move out of New York City. Thank you all again for your advice and opinions. As far as my cousin goes, I haven't heard anything since before making this choice and our previous conversation. So hopefully this will be the last time. Thank you all again for your comments and honest advice. In the comments, Lemmy Historian says, Girl, just stop engaging with these people in any way, shape or form. Just stop and seek therapy. She really should seek therapy and be single for a while. She got with her ex after she'd already been in one abusive relationship, and then 3 months after this second abusive relationship ended, she's already with someone else. It doesn't bode well for her. Now that I'm older, I wish that I could really instill in younger women a belief that it's better to be alone than in a relationship in which you are not respected and valued. Unfortunately, I think they have to learn it for themselves, for the message to stick. So the dude physically and emotionally abused her over and over, almost killed her, ruined all of her schoolwork, and made her fail her very first semester, did some revenge porn here and there, cheated on her at least once, but she forgave him? Like, what the hell did I just read? Why did she not do anything, like, I don't know, taking legal precautions? She managed to recover her documents, yay Google, so didn't fail, but otherwise, yup. They think it's normal. Everyone goes through this stuff. Being in an abusive relationship breaks your normal meter. And lots of communities do the toxic stuff like this because family, or because it really is normal to tolerate this kind of toxic bullshit. If those are the behaviors your family models for you, you're set up for failure. Not to say that means that you're trapped in it. Plenty of people get out and experience new things, look back and go, holy shit, why did I think that was okay, and break the cycle, but lots of others just don't. Yeah, we're very much looking at someone that is not ready to break that cycle, and I'm unsure if they will. 3 relationships back to back to back like that, after going through so much trauma and so much hardship, that one's going to take a while to fix, Chief, and I feel like she's going to get to that point one day that those other commenters did, being like, holy shit, why did I put up with that? Why couldn't I just be happy being alone and working on myself, getting help, and not having to have someone there constantly with me to fill that void? Because I've been filling that void with people that take advantage of me and abuse me. Why wouldn't I just be happier alone and single? We can tell these people that are going through those things 1,000 times over what they should do and what is the healthiest choice for them, but if they don't want to do it, you're talking to a brick wall. As with anything when it comes to like addictions as well, if the person you want to break the cycle doesn't want to break the cycle themselves, you're wasting your time and energy. So I do hope that OP gets the help that she needs to break out of this situation, but as of right now, it's not looking too good. Good luck, OP. Thank you for the story. Our next post is by user NoDress9576, titled, Am I the asshole for asking a customer's kid not to touch something? I, 24 male, work at a popular fast food restaurant. I've been working here since this location opened, and I love working here. I like my co-workers, my boss is great, and I've never had any problems with customers until today. We have a self-serve drink machine near the front of the store, and today a family of 3 came in. A mum, dad, and their daughter, who looked about 4 or 5. I was the cashier for the day, and Dad came to take their order, while Mum went to sit down at the benches that we have at the door to scroll on her phone. Their daughter, however, beelined to the drink station. Noticing the daughter about to stick her hands inside the spigot for the iced tea, which is separate from the soda machine, I calmly say, note, I didn't raise my voice at all, they and another family were in the store, "Excuse me, little one, could you please not touch that?" Mum looked up from her phone, immediately got defensive and yelled at me, "Don't yell at my child, I'm right here. You could have just gotten my attention." Now, I get it, stranger danger and all that, don't want strangers talking to your child. However, I needed to stop her before she actually touched it. It's a health hazard, people get drinks out of that, and I don't know where your daughter's hands have been. Your entire family just came from outside. She could have had peanut butter residue or something on her hands, and the next person to drink out of it would have went into anaphylactic shock. And I didn't raise my voice. I used a gentle voice just to get her attention and not contaminate the spigot. I apologized to the mum and explained the above, minus the outside part. She, however, isn't having it and yells at me again that she's right there and not to speak to her child. Dad is right there at the register just waiting for this to finish so that I can take his order. So I apologize to her again and turn to her husband and take his order. As soon as I turn to her husband, she's back on her phone, now with her daughter sitting next to her, hand around the shoulder. Am I the asshole? Should I have done anything differently? I've already told my boss, and after they left, I still disinfected and sanitized the spigot, even though I stopped her before she touched it. I felt like if I did it while she was still there, she would have had another meltdown. In the comments, Remember Glass Ass says, not the asshole. I would have told her that she needs to watch her child. I spent 5 years at Burger King and a year at Taco Bell. Customers are a huge pain in the ass, and at some point, I just got sick of their bullshit. Like the people coming in asking for water glasses and then stealing soda. I once kicked a family out because their kid wasn't wearing shoes. Yup, it takes a village is real. Parenting is preparing your child for the real world, including how to interact appropriately in public spaces with other people. If you don't parent your kids, you don't get to be mad when the world does it for you, and chances are they're not going to care about your feelings or your kids' feelings. Any rational parent would be apologetic and thankful in this situation, not the asshole. Some people choose not to watch their children and then get upset when someone else says something to their child. Unfortunately, she will not be the last parent that you have to speak to about their child. You did it right and you will have to do it again. People really need to understand that if you fail to parent your kids, someone else will. This time it was OP, who was very nice about it. Next, it might be someone who doesn't have the patience and kindness that OP has, or someone who has bad intentions. Yeah, you're perfectly valid for your actions in this instance, OP. She's just an iPad mum and doesn't want to raise her kids, because it's much easier to just not do anything, it sounds like. Hospitality workers be damned, you are lower class citizens, you are below me. I, as the mother, am better than you. How dare you try and protect your job and not get fired for not allowing a kid to infect the spigot. I think it's very telling that the husband just didn't do anything in this instance. He didn't even try to shut her down. That's pretty cowardly right there. She's obviously batshit insane, but why did he not de-escalate the situation? Both of these parents are terrible parents. How hard is it to just do the right thing in situations like this? I don't understand. Can we all just not be insane for 2 seconds? Update. Thanks for your feedback. While it may seem obvious that I wasn't in the wrong, I was doubting myself since this was the first time that I've witnessed someone get so defensive over their child doing something wrong. Just the other day, we had a kid climb up on the table after not listening to his mum, but when I gently told him to get down, and did, mum thanked me. So other lady's response kinda surprised me. So today is my day off, and I just got off the phone with my boss. I'm not in trouble, and she reassured me about that. She called to tell me that the mum came back and tried to complain. This is second-hand from her, so some of it might not be accurate. According to her, lady came alone and tried to file a complaint that I screamed at her child and frightened her. I am so glad the restaurant has cameras with audio, so my boss played back the incident for my mum to watch. Boss said that she had to max out the volume because she could almost not hear me over the generic music that we have playing in the store. After the video played, boss says to lady, "So you want me to punish my worker for stopping your kid from messing up all that iced tea? Because if he hadn't, and she successfully did so, I would have made you pay for all the iced tea that she ruined." And she would have. My boss is a short, middle-aged black lady from the South. She knows how to insult people and make it sound like a compliment. Don't worry, she doesn't use this power for evil. Not to mention, we had just made that tea, so the container was near full. Container holds about 5 gallons. Boss said lady got wide-eyed and backpedaled hard on her stance, told her to thank me on my next shift, and left the store, and then called me since she thought this whole thing was ridiculous. And now looking back on it, I kind of agree. I got to enjoy the rest of my day off. Maybe stop by the store and buy my boss something nice. In the comments, SnakeJG says, quotes, "I work at a popular fast food restaurant. I've been working here since this location opened, and I love working here. Nobody I know who works in customer service has such high job satisfaction. Whatever they're paying OP's boss, they should really increase it, because she's definitely the reason people enjoy working there." Board of directors be like, how about we cut wages so we can make more money? I've heard people say that they love working at retail company, but they usually have a gun to their head when they say it. They're blinking funny, like a weird syncopated pattern, and kind of hard and pointedly. I guess we'll never know what that's about. I've only ever heard people claim to love working retail or fast food if they've 1. Never had another job and have gotten used to how shit it is, 2. They actually live in a magical place where the store and its owners are treated with respect most of the time, or 3. They actually have a decent manager who treats them well and deflects the bullshit for them, and once that manager leaves, they too will leave in a hurry. Yeah, I got my first real job at 14 at Taco Time. I worked there until I was 19, and I loved it. Our boss was great, and we worked hard, but had fun. This was in the 80s when you still had to give good customer service, but the boss wouldn't take rudeness or abuse from anyone. We were expected to treat customers with respect, but she had our backs. I've had about 10 jobs since then and switched careers 3 times, but I still look back with fondness at that job. One of my nieces managed to get behind the counter in a bakery and poke a hole in an entire cake. Luckily, the cake was delicious because, of course, we paid for the whole thing and brought it home and shared it around. If you don't control your kids, you should expect to have to cover the costs. Yup, and kids can be slippery. Sometimes you take your eye off them for 1 second and they've gotten somewhere or into something that they shouldn't have. Shit happens, but as a parent, you need to respond like a normal damn human. Reprimand your child and apologize and offer to pay for any potential damages. The fact that the woman came back later and complained, trying to put OP's job in jeopardy, is what really annoys me. She had time to calm down and think about it, but nope. Deep down, she was mad because she was embarrassed. Nose deep in her phone, probably not a clue about what the kid was up to. It's as if OP had to correct her, and that is why she had a problem. Again, hate her for that. Funny that the manager was able to destroy her so quickly with the video and audio evidence. I would really hope that this is a lesson in how she can be a better mother and to have some self-awareness, but no. The half a brain cell clashing against the sides of her skull won't allow her to have critical thinking, self-awareness, any of that. She will keep blaming others for her own problems, her child will suffer as a result, and, doesn't seem like the dad's going to be doing anything different in this situation because he's already shown that he doesn't care either, so good luck to those kids, I say. That's a nice and prosperous future right there. Best of luck, kiddos. Am I the asshole here for cancelling my wedding after my fiancé cheated on me with the guy that she told me that she hates? I, 24 male, recently proposed to my now ex-fiancé, 23 female, after 2 years of dating. We met by mutual friends at work. We started talking as friends, we went on dates, and on New Year's Eve, we officially started dating. During the beginning of our relationship, she mentions this guy Marvin. According to her, Marvin has always had a crush on her, and during the first months of our relationship, he texted her several times asking her to leave me and to give him a chance. We used to say how pathetic this guy was and how she despises him for suggesting that she would leave me for him. I must clarify that I'm nothing special. I'm a 5'4" Asian nerdy guy. Time goes by, and after 2 years of dating, I decided to propose to her. So on New Year's Eve, I gave her the ring and she says yes in front of her whole family. I have some money saved, she doesn't work, so I started looking for venues, catering, invitations, decor, and everything. I spent a high amount of money as her parents are not in the position to help with the expenses, and I have enough savings to go through with this comfortably. One day, while we're running errands, we started talking about having a threesome. We're in our 20s, so there's a lot of things that we want to try. We discussed for a while on how we could find someone, and she quickly says, "I have someone in mind." And I asked who, and she replies with, "Marvin." Look, I know that was the first red flag, but I let it pass. I asked why him, and she just answered that she was sexually attracted to him. I asked about why she would say she hated him first, and then choose him as her first option for a threesome, and she replies that it's only a one-time thing. So I told her that it was okay, but we needed to talk later to set rules, limits, and I would like to talk to him personally before giving the green light. During the next couple of days, she's acting really excited, and she comes to show me hotels, and when we're going to meet with him, and how exciting everything is. I told her that we need to talk about things first, as it's not as easy as it sounds, and we need to have some limits. After that, she calmed down for a day or two, and starts to bring up the subject again. We reached a point where she insisted so much, and brought up the subject so many times, that I ended up saying to her that she either has to calm down, or no threesome is going to happen. She apologized and mentioned that I was right, but something didn't feel right. That afternoon we were having a nap, and while she was sleeping, I went through her phone and I found how she was cheating on me with him for a couple of months now. They've been meeting while I was working, and she even sent some of those BDSM tests that you can find online to see if his kinks matched with hers. To say that I was furious is an understatement. She woke up while I was checking the phone, and I confronted her. She started crying, saying she was sorry, and how she didn't know what she was doing. I packed my things and stormed out to stay at a hotel. That night I got a call from her parents saying how I was ruining the engagement and acting as a baby while I was the one who brought up the topic of the threesome, and how her daughter wasn't at fault. I hung up without saying anything and started cancelling everything that I had for the wedding. She called me the next day apologizing and asking for me to come back. Her whole family is sending me texts asking me to man up as I was the one at fault and not breaking the engagement. Am I the asshole here for cancelling everything? In the comments, Wanderer866 says, not the asshole. Just tell her family that it's their fault they never taught her how to count. How else did she get having a threesome wrong? I like this. Tell them that to have a threesome, he needs to actually be present. Tell them that she was screwing the other guy long before you even brought up the threesome, and you only brought it up to catch her. Never stay with a cheater. You were young and not even married. Consider yourself lucky you found out when you did. She has shown you who she is, so believe her. Not the asshole. She probably told her family that you brought up a threesome and then got mad at her for picking someone to be the third. She probably didn't mention that she had been cheating on you. Send them one text saying, she has been cheating on me for months, my decision is final, stop texting me. And then block them. Very good text message, that one. I think you should send that. I would love to see their reaction when you do that one. Very interesting. They've been having pretend threesomes this whole time that didn't include you. So, I think it's fair enough that you kick her out of your life for that one. I don't know how she expects to fix the relationship when you caught her like that. I don't see why she wants to fix things if she wants this other guy so much more. Let her go live her little fantasy life, OP. Not the asshole. Update. Hey guys, thanks for everyone's advice. I appreciate the support and the mean comments. Both perspectives were helpful. Now let me address just a few things before I continue. 1. Yes, the posts have grammatical errors. English is not my first language. 2. My ex stopped working to go to college. We met at work, but she quit once we moved in together. 3. Yes, my now ex-fiancé told her parents that we were breaking up because I suggested the threesome and got mad when she mentioned Marvin, and her parents believed her. And 4. Yes, I needed reassurance to make sure that I was not the one at fault. I've been conditioned all my life to be a doormat, so it's hard to stand up for myself. Here's the update. After seeing all your messages, I reached out to my father-in-law, so we agreed to meet at a nearby mall to talk about the reasons why I broke the engagement. I did have a good relationship with him, as we both share the same interests and hobbies, so I figured that we could have a conversation. We met, and even though he looked mad, he agreed to listen. I took screenshots of the conversations that my ex-fiancé had with Martin, and I showed them to him. After looking at everything, he told me that my ex gave them a totally different story. According to what he told me, my ex went to them crying, saying that I was breaking the engagement because I wanted to have a threesome, and once she picked Marvin as the third, that I snapped at her. He also mentioned Marvin has been going to check on my ex since my ex has been staying with them after we broke up. We then went to my apartment and packed all of her belongings to move her out. The ring was at the apartment as well, so I kept it. We're on our way to drop everything to her right now. I'll keep you guys updated. In the comments, as Shakespeare said, all's well that ends well. At least her family knows the truth now. Cheating and lying go hand in hand. I'm not surprised that she lied to her parents, and good on you for having proof. You were definitely not the asshole here for cancelling your wedding after finding out your fiancé cheated on you, especially with someone she claimed to hate. Trust is the foundation of any relationship, and cheating is a serious breach of that trust. It's understandable to feel hurt and betrayed, and it's completely within your rights to call off the wedding and reconsider your future with someone who wasn't honest or faithful. Taking care of yourself and prioritizing your own well-being is important in this situation, even if it means making a difficult decision. Final update. Hey guys, I'm back. I know y'all have been waiting for this update. I had to create a new account because it got shadow banned on the other one. So after picking up my ex's belongings, me and my father-in-law drove to his house. The ride there was awkward to say the least. When we get there, we walked in and we saw mother-in-law, my ex, and guess who else? Exactly. Effing Marvin. They were all in the living room. My ex looked like she had been crying for a while, Martin was hugging her, and mother-in-law was seated next to her with a box of tissues. My mother-in-law saw me enter and started asking father-in-law what I was doing there. He responded, "We all need to talk about the situation," and he came to clarify some things. We all sat down, and Marvin was about to leave the room when father-in-law said, "No, please stay. You're a part of this too." So Marvin sat down, but you could see that he was not holding well. His right leg was bouncing, and he tried his best not to make eye contact with me or my ex. Father-in-law started saying that I accepted to continue with the engagement, which made mother-in-law and my ex smile. However, I had one condition. Marvin must show him his WhatsApp conversation with my ex to him. At that moment, I was shocked. I was about to argue, however, I understood something. Most likely, my ex had deleted the conversation with Marvin, but there was a chance that Marvin didn't. Marvin tried to protest, but my father-in-law insisted and asked him to do this for her daughter. My ex and Marvin glanced at each other, and my mother-in-law was quiet looking at father-in-law. Finally, after that, Marvin stood up and left without saying anything else. My ex started crying again, and my father-in-law told her to shut up. He said I had shown him screenshots of their conversations, and he was disappointed to raise a cheating slalala. Mother-in-law was in disbelief, so I showed her the screenshots too. They both screamed at her about how she could do something like that on top of lying to their faces. At the end, my father-in-law went to unload her belongings in the driveway and told her to look for some other place to stay as she wasn't welcome there anymore. Father-in-law apologized to me and told me that he would like to keep in touch just to make sure that I was okay. I came back home after all of that happened, feeling empty, not gonna lie. I think it was the adrenaline wearing off. I got a call from my ex, but I didn't answer it. I blocked the number and spoke with the security at my building to trespass her if she comes by. I then posted on Facebook and Instagram about what happened and made sure to post the screenshots of the conversation to make sure that she cannot twist the situation with friends and family. I'll get most of my money after cancelling the venue, catering, and other stuff, so I'm planning to move to another state. I got some STD tests done and I'm clean, and I'll be selling the ring to get my money back. So far, that's the update. I don't think I'll update anymore on this, but I want to thank everyone for the good and the bad comments. Hopefully everything gets better now. In the comments, Pretty Selena's says, "Not the asshole. You've made the right decision to cancel your wedding after your ex's betrayal. The way your father-in-law handled the situation is commendable, holding your ex accountable for her actions. It's good to hear that you're getting tested and focusing on your well-being. Moving on and starting a new chapter is the best thing that you can do for yourself." Yeah, seems like Marvin didn't know how deep he got himself into. It's wild how people can act in such messy situations. At least now you've got clarity on all that chaos. Good luck with everything moving forward. Our next post is by user Right2Fly123, titled, "Am I the asshole for hiding my boyfriend's anime body pillow while my parents were visiting? My boyfriend, male 32, and I, female 27, have been together for a year. He's only met my parents once over the holidays last year because they live pretty far away. They've been visiting the past week, and since he and I just moved in together, they were excited to see our new place and get to know my boyfriend a little more. We have an extra bedroom, and this has become my boyfriend's gaming room for the most part, but we agreed when guests come over that it would be a second bedroom. He really likes video games and anime in particular, so he has a lot of toys and artwork that he's collected over the years from different games and such. One thing he has is this anime body pillow that features a sexy anime girl on it. He also has a mousepad for his gaming computer that resembles a busty anime girl. Before my parents came over, I asked him to take down his toys and stuff so they could be comfortable. I was upset to see that he left the body pillow and the mousepad in place. I don't really feel comfortable with either of them, but he's really into anime, so I've always kind of left it alone. But I absolutely didn't think that it was appropriate to leave it in there when my parents would be staying over. I took the cover of the body pillow off and put the pillow in the closet, and I put the mousepad in a drawer in our room. When my parents arrived and we showed them to their room, my boyfriend noticed the missing pillow and mousepad. Later, when we were in bed, he brought it up and asked why I hid them. I told him that I didn't think my parents would feel comfortable with those things in the bedroom, and when they leave, we can put them back. My boyfriend got really upset. He told me that he feels like I'm ashamed of his interest in anime. He said he spent his whole life just feeling like people think he's weird for being into anime, and he didn't expect his own girlfriend to be just like everyone else. The next day, I noticed him taking some of his manga books off of our bookshelf and putting them into a box. I asked him why, and he said something like, "I'm putting them away so you don't have to look at them anymore." I feel really bad. I feel like I hurt him, but I just really didn't think that my parents would feel comfortable sleeping in a room with those items. But now he's just acting so distant and so cold, and he's not really engaging with my parents at all. They keep asking me what's wrong, and I don't know what to say. Am I the asshole? In the comments, Talking Mice says, "There is a huge difference between anime and video game decorations and sexualized anime content. A busty mousepad and a sexy body pillow would most definitely make anyone feel uncomfortable. I get that it's his space too, but I think a small amount of compromise for a limited time isn't a problem at all. He might see it as you being embarrassed about his interests, but the reality is that most people aren't comfortable with sexualized decor. It's not about anime at all. Not the asshole. He really needs to have more consideration for others." OP says, "That's exactly my feelings too. There's other stuff in the room that's anime/gaming related that was left up, but it was more the sexual stuff that I didn't feel comfortable leaving out for my parents. Your boyfriend is acting like a little kid trying to make you feel bad and to get his way. And from the end of your post, it sounds like he's succeeded. Don't let him manipulate you like that. Next time he does it, call him out on it. He won't grow as a person if you let him get away with this. Also, you're completely justifiable in removing the sexualized content. I'm worried about why he doesn't see that it's an issue to have that out when your parents or other guests are over. Next time? Dude, he's lucky she was putting up with it in the first place. Having an anime titty mousepad and humping pillow is pretty sad in most cases. Having them at 32 is pathetic. Then he threw a tantrum about it. He needs to go. I'm sorry, but your boyfriend is trying to make you feel guilty about his fetishes, and I think you shouldn't let him. Don't get me wrong, everyone has the right to have preferences and fetishes and get kinky and whatever, as long as it's legal. But let's be honest here. Objects representing over-sexualized lollies, which isn't just anime, might be as awkward for guests as dildos or a Playboy poster when entering an adult's home. And even more awkward if those guests are parental figures. Please tell your boyfriend, it was a good try, but he perfectly knows the sexual connotation those very objects have, so he should stop playing the victim and trying to blame others whenever something doesn't go as he expects. That is a dick move. Most clear not the asshole I've seen today. Edit, some of you have noticed that I perhaps wrongly, none of us know, assumed the body pillow stuff was lolly related. Indeed, not all busty women in manga and anime are lollies, e.g. Boa Hancock or Tsunade. Thank you for your kind comments. However, the main point of my remark are 1. Such busty women have an undeniable sexual connotation that might be seen as awkward by guests sleeping in the same room. All the more reason if these people are your parents. And 2. The boyfriend is trying to gaslight OP so that she feels guilty for acting just as a socially well-adjusted adult. Thanks for reading. Have a great day. Bro is 32. Trying to hit you with the, actually no, it's perfectly fine that I have a shirtless Jimmy Donaldson sexy anime pillow in my house. I love cuddling sexy anime Mr. Beast, and my father will too. I take very well after him. We both love Mr. Beast with a fervent anime passion. Also no, keep the titty mouse pad in place. My parents love that shit too. My parents are gonna eat up the titty anime mouse pad. Brother, no, you're 32, stop. You know better, you should know better. Is this your first relationship? What's going on? The only thing I can think of besides him having no brain is that his parents are freaks. And that his parents are cool with all of this. And that's fine, but at least tell OP that. But at the same time, don't invalidate OP's feelings here. Like, if she doesn't want to be presenting those things in the room, which any sane person would back her up on that, support your partner when it's not an unreasonable request. If you brush off your partner's needs, wants, and desires and, their desire not to be embarrassed by you, don't be surprised when they break up with you. It's as simple as that. If you can't respect them, why should they stay with you? Not the arsehole OP. Update. Thank you for all the responses, and I'm sorry that it took me a few days to update. I was waiting for my parents to leave so that I could talk to my boyfriend about all of this. I read through the comments and it kind of validated something that I was already feeling. Sexual decor aside, the way he acted the next day when he was putting the books away really bothered me. I ended up explaining the situation to my parents, and they weren't exactly thrilled by his reaction either. I got the feeling after this trip that they don't really approve of him, which is neither here nor there. I'm 27 and I'm old enough to make my own choices, but above everything else, my parents mean a lot to me. I never get to see them, and it was important to me that my boyfriend would be present and treat them well while they were here. After they left, I drove them to the airport, as boyfriend refused to come. I came back from the airport and found a couple of trash bags outside the door. It turns out that once I left, my boyfriend started throwing all of his anime things into these bags. I asked why, and he said something along the lines of the same as before, that clearly his interests weren't welcome in my home, and he would keep them in his car until he figured out what to do with them. I kinda snapped. I'd been keeping it together all week for my parents, but I'd had enough at this point. I told him I never asked him to get rid of his anime stuff, just that it wasn't appropriate for my parents while they were staying with us. I told him this reaction is unfair and he's being manipulative. I told him that this week was supposed to be about him getting to know my parents, but he was too fixated on the anime issue to even spend any real time with them. He then called me manipulative for making him believe that I was cool with his love for anime for the past year when I was clearly ashamed of it. He also said that he didn't want to be a part of a family that doesn't appreciate anime. Huh? We went back and forth for a while, and then I told him that we needed space. I wasn't even really planning that, but it came out, and it felt like the right thing for me. Well, he then started crying a lot and apologizing, and immediately tried to take back what he said, but I was just done at this point. He left eventually, and now I'm here in this apartment alone. Well, and the mousepad and body pillow, he left those behind. Anyway, I don't really know if we're broken up officially or what, but it seems to be heading that way. I'm just feeling awful, and I almost wish this all happened before my parents visited, because I feel like it tainted the whole trip. But yeah, thanks for the replies, guys, and for helping me open my eyes a bit. In the comments, Sandpiper's Jackal says, "Oof, yikes. It boggles my mind that OP's, hopefully ex-boyfriend, really couldn't distinguish the difference between please temporarily remove your sexy anime body pillow and busty anime girl mousepad from the room that my parents will be sleeping in while they're here, and your interests disgust me and have no place in this house, and then doubling down with the childish behavior throughout the week and ending it with crocodile tears and misuse of therapy speak? OP dodged a flag redder than Vash the Stampede's iconic coat here. The tantrum was to deter her from having any mature expectations in the future. He wanted her to feel guilty, not break it off. Damn, OP told him that she was done with his shit, kept her dignity, and also kept her ex's body pillow girlfriend. I hope it's a true breakup. This man's love for anime isn't even the core problem, it's his immaturity and his manipulative victim mindset. Though the obsession with the boob mousepad and the sexy waifu pillow doesn't help. The fact he doesn't either see the body pillow and the mousepad as sexualized or refuses to see it is creepy. His emotional maturity is hanging around the age 11 with his responses, including crying when OP said that she wanted space. He went from, I want to be a part of a family that accepts my anime to, I was kidding, please don't break up with me, in 0.02 seconds, like a manipulative weenie. OP's right, that she's 27, so her parents' approval isn't necessary, but I learned it sure is appreciated when people who love me are honest with their inputs. And it's great when those who love me try their best to get along at first meeting. He didn't do that at all. Oh, he knows they're creepy. He's just doubling down on his guilt trip manipulation by trying to frame it as, you hate my interest in this genre, and not, you're uncomfortable displaying specific fetish items drawn from the genre when your parents are visiting. He's trying to cling to some kind of moral high ground where he doesn't have to admit that his girlfriend has a solid point and admit that his childish refusal to take steps to make sure that her parents feel comfortable as guests in their home by simply putting away 2 visible fetish items for a few days. Okay, yes, I lacked some reading comprehension in that first story there. I said his parents are freaky. Maybe they are, I don't know, but it was OP's parents that were coming over, and they obviously are not freaky. They are not down with the dudes, and instead, they give OP some pretty solid advice and guidance there. Unfortunate that the relationship ends where it could have been worked on by the two, but if he's just going to continue to push the issue like he has there is no point in continuing the relationship. He's just going to embarrass her. That's really not how a 32-year-old should be acting, especially when meeting someone else's parents. Like, he just completely ruined whatever chance of a fun connection that he could have had with those parents, and that is so upsetting. I would genuinely hate to have been in OP's shoes there. I would be so embarrassed. Anyway, thank you for sharing the story with us. I very much appreciate that. Am I the asshole for lying to my family about the gender of my baby? So I'm 11 weeks pregnant with our 3rd child. We have 2 boys already, who are 2 and 4. Both sides of grandparents don't know that we are pregnant yet, and we found out today that our 3rd child will be a girl, via MIPT testing, which is over 99% accurate. This would be very exciting for both sets of grandparents, but we're considering telling them that we are pregnant with our 3rd boy instead. The reasons are, my mother-in-law literally yelled, "No!" when we told her the gender of our 2nd boy, having kept the first a secret. She has also told me multiple times that I need to give her a granddaughter, and thus far, I've told her she gets what she gets and doesn't get upset, and that if she wanted a girl, she should have had it instead of just having 1 boy, my husband. We know that mother-in-law will start sending clothes, as she lives in a different country to us, as soon as she finds out. She even sent girls' clothing, hopefully, for our first, not knowing that he was a boy. And we are conscious of how our 2 boys will feel about things arriving for the next baby, and not them. The sending wouldn't be as extreme for a 3rd boy, as we already have lots of boy stuff. I want to avoid the drama and upset if mother-in-law treats unborn baby girl more favorably than she did my boys. She already shows extreme favoritism to her favorite niece over other girls and boys in the family and sees nothing wrong with it. We want to avoid mother-in-law coming to our country for the birth. She came a few months later for our boys, as we want to get settled and think that if it's a girl, she will want to come ASAP. Our eldest was born code blue and required resuscitation, and before him, we had a miscarriage. And I'm worried about the added pressure on me to birth the first granddaughter from our parents. We think it would be really exciting once born if she's a big surprise for both sides, as she will be the first granddaughter on both sides. We can't say that we don't know because we are both type A, and they know that we would know, and we did with the first 2 too. We are worried though by telling our parents she's a boy when she isn't, that they'll buy gendered clothing though, or that they will be mad at us for lying for 6 months. Is this going to backfire on us? Would we be the assholes? Any advice would be appreciated. In the comments, Trevenna Rice says, Info. Why not just say, hey, we're not telling anyone the gender because of the way some people reacted by our 2nd baby. So yeah, you will find out when the baby is here. And then let everyone else think if this means it's a girl, a boy, or twins. Lying could lead to a bad start for your little girl, as people could be upset, and do you really want some family to cut you out after finding out that you lied to them for 8 months? So just don't say anything. OP says, they definitely wouldn't cut us out, it wouldn't be that extreme at all, but I get what you're saying. Not telling them just means that we have 6 months of people trying to trip us up. Well, based on what OP has said though, mother-in-law sounds like the pestering type, as well as the type to assume that it's a girl because they're not telling. I agree that they shouldn't have to lie, but this family dynamic sounds stressful in general with trying to manage entitled personalities. OP says, "Yep, exactly. If we don't say, and they will know that we know, because this is our third and we always do all the genetic testing, my mum will constantly be guessing and trying to trip us up. And his mum will be like, I hope it's a girl, the entire time, which will piss me off. Saying she's a boy means that we are left alone for 6 months to have our pregnancy in peace, and then we'll have very excited parents with a surprise first and only granddaughter. I'm not worried about my parents being mad at all. They are not like that. Hubby's mum won't be mad either. She will be elated. It's more worrying about them buying gendered gifts and being like, what do we do with this now? Given how some people reacted to our previous gender reveal, none of you will know the gender of the baby before birth. No need to overcomplicate things with lies. This is the best answer. Just don't let anyone know until the birth. Set rules with both sides of the family. You said she'll be the first girl for both sides? Well, she'll be spoiled by both sets, probably. It's up to you and your husband to make sure the boys don't feel left out. The novelty will be exciting, whether you tell them now or when she is born. Just make sure to tell your boys that they are loved and they will have a baby sister that will love her big brothers. Worry about creating bonds with them, and the rest of the family set rules. You can even say that you already have enough baby clothes. Nothing says she can't wear her brother's hand-me-downs, so you don't want an overflow of clothes. I don't know. I think you need to stop trying to predict the future. This is stressing you out, and have an adult conversation with all of the adults involved. No assholes here. It boggles my mind that people need to do mental gymnastics for situations like this. Like, to me, it's obvious that the danger, I guess in your mind, OP, is that they're gonna waste their own money and time buying stuff for boys, and then they're gonna put that on you because you're the messenger. But you can just say, I'm not telling you the gender of this baby because of how you acted last time. They can read between the lines with that one if they'd like, but then it's on them if they make mistakes because you are drawing a boundary with them. I feel like no matter what though, there is going to be some drama. There will be much celebration, but there'll be drama regardless. I think no assholes here though. Update 1. Okay, Reddit has spoken and we've agreed that hubby is not allowed to surprise his mum. We will be saying that we don't know and addressing any hopes for a girl with a request to stop pressuring us to have a girl, and that we better not witness any gender disappointment if it's a boy, and if it is a girl, we better not see a different reaction or treatment than the boys ever. This message will be consistently delivered. Everyone worrying about trauma to our boys? We are very good in addressing behaviors and setting boundaries with anyone in contact with our kids, and will set clear expectations and boundaries on the first phone call once she's born. These will be strictly enforced. Thank you for your concern and input. I do think maybe I worded this post a bit more seriously than it would have been. The parents would have been like, you sneaky rats, and have been happy, but I don't want them to spread the lie wider. So we will just share the unbelievable lie instead and try to throw them off every chance we get. We were also very shocked at how many people said that we were lying about knowing the gender so early. We are very lucky to live in a country with affordable and accessible healthcare and feel so grateful that NIPT is so available to us. Thanks again all, especially those who stayed kind. In the comments, Dragon Celica says, one way or another, you're going to have to deal with your mother-in-law's behavior. Lying now is just putting off the inevitable. I understand why you want to, though. Healthy boundaries need to be discussed. You need to get on the same page with your husband and figure out how you're going to tackle this issue long-term. Dealing with this right after giving birth sounds like a nightmare. OP says, yeah, I already said that my husband needs to address the gender disappointment reaction that she gives, as if she does it in front of me again, I will lose it. For us, it feels like we can avoid any drama and have a big happy surprise when she's here, instead of having her beat down about how she treats the kids differently now. We will for sure have to address it once the girl is here, but it feels like we can avoid it for 6 months and live in ignorant bliss for a bit longer by surprising them as opposed to lying to them. I guess my concern is how severely she'll overcompensate due to the surprise. I'm so glad it's not another boy. What a gift to be blessed with a girl instead. I'm sure you're understandably worried that your boys will hear her rhetoric and think she views boys as less than. I'm hoping they won't catch on because your hands are already going to be full with your mother-in-law. I already said to my husband that he needs to address the gender disappointment reaction. Is he addressing it or is he burying his head? If she does it in front of me again, I'll lose it. I don't think people here would call you an asshole if you did. OP says, yeah, I just figured once she figured it out, we could gently remind her that she needs to treat boys equally and that there is to be no favoritism. It's a tough one. I think you would be the asshole to your current sons and future daughter, quite frankly. You know you'll have issues with your mother-in-law. Sort this shit out now, before your kid is born, and before all of your kids are forced to observe the wild inequality in treatment. If your husband cannot wrangle his mother into some semblance of agreement, go low contact, or even no contact before you allow her to taint your children's lives. Good luck with her. OP says, she's actually a lovely lady. She just really wants a girl. Always wanted a daughter and never got one, so spoils her niece and wants a granddaughter more than anything. We will of course address this up front once she's born. There will be no inequality in my household, and if she sends things without the others, they will be placed in a cupboard until Christmas or a birthday, and she will be told to not send anything for that occasion. We will address it on the first phone call, gently, once she's born. Before the boys are at the hospital, like, meet your granddaughter. Now don't be treating her any differently, and make sure that if she gets a gift, the boys do too, or else, type thing. Update 2. The internet is so weird. People are mad that we don't want gifts coming for only one child. Sending non-occasion gifts for one child and not the others, and thinking that's okay is crazy to us. Unless it's a newborn or a birthday gift, we won't be having one child getting random things when the others aren't. Mother-in-law is actually a very kind and generous person, and will respect boundaries that we set for our kids, and doesn't want to make anyone feel bad. She's just always wanted a girl, and that overpowers her reactions sometimes. In the comments, Kira says, OP, mother-in-law literally fell to the ground crying and screaming, no, when we revealed that we were going to have a second boy. But also OP, y'all, she's just the sweetest woman ever. So kind, so understanding, so respectful. She seemed so surprised that everyone assumed her mother-in-law might show favoritism when that story was literally the first thing we heard about the woman. Right? OP is so contradictory and all over the place in these posts. Is she concerned mother-in-law's favoritism is going to be a problem, or not? Because at first, it is such a huge issue that she considered blatantly lying to both of their families for 6 months, but somehow when the girl is born, mother-in-law will only need a gentle reminder not to do favoritism? Then why not just give her that reminder now and give her months to process the excitement, rather than springing it on her as a massive surprise and expecting her to suddenly magically start respecting boundaries? I think she truly underestimates exactly how out of control mother-in-law will act when she gets her girl. Or she truly believes that she will be able to see and stop any favoritism. How often do we see posts where the OP asks a question, people predict what will happen next, and OP says, my mum, brother, aunt, boyfriend would never do that to me. You guys are all awful. And then a few days later, they're back, and turns out the commenters were spot on. I find it really difficult to respect or take gender disappointment seriously. It just seems like preemptive sexism to me. I'm a sonographer. I've had parents burst out into heartbroken tears or have, essentially, a tantrum when I tell them the sex during the ultrasound, and it isn't the one that they wanted. We usually leave those pictures to the end for a reason. We have an incredible number of what can be difficult pictures on the fetus. It is a very small part of an extensive exam, but it's all that so many care about. When I was pregnant with my second, my son was convinced I was having a girl. We tried to explain that we don't get to pick if he's a brother or a sister, but he was adamant that he was going to have a little sister. He was 4. We took him to the appointment for a scan where we would find out the gender. and when the text said that it's a girl, my husband and I let out a sigh of relief, just because we didn't have to deal with a headstrong preschooler. My son just nodded and said, "I knew it." I have no idea why he wanted a sister over a brother, but he has molded her into his mini-me, and she likes to watch him play Minecraft, so he likes her okay. You guys have any of your own stories of gender disappointments? I'd love to know some of them down in the comments. I always find the extra stories so funny, because they're just not things that I ever think of personally myself. I'm never like, am I going to be pissed off if I have a girl? It just seems like such a non-factor to me, but then when I think of other countries and cultures that femicide is such a big practice, then I'm like, oh yeah, I can see why a lot of people think about that. That's kind of crazy. And on to the point about OP's description of mother-in-law, seems like she might have a little bit of a Stockholm syndrome going on there. Yes, she gives me 50 lashings a day, sir, but she's actually my best friend and she's not that bad. I actually like the lashings now. Please, sir, may I have some more? Best of luck to that happy family in the future. I really hope that she takes the advice the commenters gave her, but who knows? If there is another update, I'd love to cover it, and thank you for the story, OP. Our next post is by user CharacterGuess4227, titled, "Am I the asshole here for refusing to get my daughter with severe social anxiety a service dog and forcing her to get a part-time job after what she did?" Alright, the title is long-winded, I know, but hear me out. My 45 female, daughter 15 female, suffers from severe social anxiety. It is incredibly crippling and has prevented her from doing many extracurriculars and even her education over the years. I left my job 5 years ago to start homeschooling her and have since put her in therapy. The therapist and I have been working on getting her into school more and more for the past year and a half. This is all to say, I am not trying to shame my daughter for her social anxiety at all. It is a debilitating thing to live with, and I can see that firsthand. Last month, the therapist recommended getting a service dog for my daughter in order to be able to help her navigate public settings better. Despite thinking that this was a huge responsibility, I did see the excitement on my daughter's face. She really wanted a dog and seemed determined to continue her progress with the help of an animal. I was initially on board with this and started the necessary research required. However, a few weeks ago, I left my daughter with my sister-in-law for a few days because my mother was sick and I needed to visit her a few hours away and my husband was on a work trip. The plan was for my sister-in-law to continue her homeschooling for as many hours as she could manage, but instead, I got a call from her 2 days in demanding I take my daughter back home. I came to find out that my sister-in-law had to leave the house for a few hours and asked my daughter to take care of her senior dog. The dog is very old and small. She was adopted just over a year ago, so she's still a bit weary of people. My daughter, in an attempt to recreate some stupid online video, took this senior dog to the roof of the house and left her there. The poor thing was so scared that she shit herself on the roof, shaking, while my daughter filmed. Of course, this didn't go to plan, and the dog ended up falling off the roof and into the swimming pool out of sheer luck. However, due to her age and size, the dog ended up breaking a few ribs and her paw. Let me tell you, my jaw dropped when I read that. Oh my god. This girl cannot be trusted with an emotional support animal. What? She will kill that thing. When I heard this, I was absolutely livid. I confronted my daughter immediately, and she admitted to wanting to recreate videos that she saw online. She then proceeded to use a defense that went along the lines of, "That dog is old. If it were younger, then nothing would have happened. Me when I put toddlers on the roof instead of senior citizens." She also mentioned how she didn't really think that what she did was that bad because it's an unloved shelter dog with no real value, like a service dog or newborn puppy. Straight to hell and don't pass go. Oh my god. I was very upset to hear these words coming out of my daughter's mouth. I have no idea where she learned this from, considering neither me or my husband share these beliefs. TikTok has done irreparable harm to the youth. I instantly told my daughter that she would not be getting a service dog. I also told her that she would have to pay her aunt's vet bill no matter what it took, because the bill is in the thousands. She will have to find a way to make that money. My daughter got upset and said that I was being unfair because she can't get a job due to her social anxiety, but I told her that she should have thought about that before doing what she did. My daughter has since then been attempting to search for a part-time job that requires minimal face-to-face interaction. Despite me and my husband helping her, she was only able to find a waitress job. I asked my sister-in-law if she was okay with my daughter working the vet bill off instead, but she refused, saying she really had no interest in having my daughter anywhere near her house or her dog again, and I honestly thought that that was fair enough. So I told my daughter that she had to find a way to stick with this, because that vet bill was her responsibility only. My husband told me that I might be an asshole for suggesting that our daughter pay off the entire bill, and that we should probably just restrict her pocket money until the bill is paid off. I think that's not a good enough punishment, because her pocket money isn't earned. It's what me and my husband give her for free time at the start of the week. Also, this bill is entirely her fault, and therefore her responsibility. It's unfortunate that the only jobs available are in customer service, but what else can we do? My daughter's therapist also reached out, saying that she thinks that it was wrong of me to completely take the service dog idea off the table, considering that it is a medical necessity, as well as pointing out that suddenly forcing my daughter into an unfamiliar job may be a bit too daunting. Is my husband and my daughter's therapist right? Am I being too harsh on my daughter? Am I the asshole here? In the comments, despite what the therapist says, I'm not sure that a legitimate service animal organization would approve an animal for your daughter. Nor should they. She injured an animal, and only through luck didn't kill it. But when called out on it, she blamed it on the dog being old instead of being appropriately remorseful. She should absolutely not have access to a dog. I do think potentially making her pay for the entire vet bill, as vet bills can be massive, is a little overkill, but she absolutely is not responsible enough to have a dog. In some states, mental health care providers are mandated reporters for animal cruelty. In part, this is because it has such a high correlation with child abuse, domestic abuse, and spousal abuse. Yes, and don't you think that OP should be questioning the value of the therapist who is willing to overlook this behavior? The therapist is lacking in that department then, because they still want OP to consider a service dog. It wouldn't surprise me if the therapist is under the daughter's spell. Not the asshole. Are you sure it's just social anxiety that your daughter has? I'd suggest getting her evaluated by someone other than her current therapist. Her behavior is not normal. Yup, this calls for a legitimate, full psychological evaluation. I'm saying this as someone who did undergo a 6-hour eval 13 years ago. In many ways, it turned my life into the right direction. It frightens me that she so willfully put an animal in danger. There is something seriously detrimental going on with this girl's mental state. Not just the danger, but the utter disregard for its very existence. It has no value? That is just terrifying. She is going to kill someone someday. I'm completely on board with these guys. I am once again succumbing to last comment syndrome. I agree, she is going to kill someone someday. Bro really said that worthless thing that fell off the roof has no value. I don't care if it lives or dies. It deserved to die for what it did, falling off the roof like that. Stupid senior animal. Now, where's the nearest old folks' home? No reason for asking that question, by the way. I know I've been silly in the past, throwing around 5150s, but in this situation, I want to 5150 the daughter and the psychologist, because what in the codependent Jesus is going on? Yeah, bro. She almost killed a dog, so I think that it's a good idea for her to get another dog, because, lightning doesn't strike twice. If she was my daughter, her ass would be in that part-time job quicker than she could say, but, no buts. Pay that shit off, you little demon. Not the asshole. And now, onto the update. Okay, first off, I would like to say that although I was warned Reddit was absolutely brutal, you guys did not hold back. Shout out to the person who DM'd me telling me to log out of life, and to log my family out of life also. I would like everyone to know that I read almost every single comment, even if I didn't reply to them all. And to clarify, when I said a service animal, I was told that we would be able to get one to alert my daughter of panic attacks and help her calm down. However, after now speaking to other resources, we were explained that what the therapist was talking about was an ESA, emotional support animal. Apologies for any confusion, this is new to me. And yes, where we live in America, psychologists can prescribe simple anxiety meds. And also, yes, I obviously took away my daughter's phone and laptop after this. She is only allowed to see what she needs to complete her studies. On to the updates. There was also a lot of helpful advice and support, so I do feel like I owe you guys an update. Me and my husband have been fighting for weeks now on how to handle this. We did end up taking her to a psychiatrist, and she was diagnosed with severe social anxiety, as before, and also bipolar. We were told that the reason she wasn't diagnosed earlier is because she was far too young, and that this is something that most likely only became visible very recently as she just hit puberty. So no, my daughter is not a sociopath. Sorry to disappoint, and yes, we were told to continue homeschooling, as it is too late to put her in a school where everyone has already developed their own friendship groups, etc. I once again had to leave to care for my sick mother, which left my daughter with my husband. Apparently, while I was gone, my husband thought that it was a genius idea to turn up to sister-in-law's house and ask for my daughter to see the dog under supervision. My sister-in-law didn't agree, but was coerced by my husband. This is what I'm assuming because despite what my husband says, I don't believe that she would have been on board with this. My daughter started crying and apologizing, claiming that she felt so sad seeing the broken senior pup too scared to come close to her. My husband has since decided that in light of this, my daughter deserves her emotional support animal. I completely disagree with this stance and believe that she needs some more support, therapy, and a large range of resources not limited to an animal. Even if my daughter is genuinely sorry, this isn't a mistake that can be easily forgiven in a month. I still think that we should be punishing her to continue a part-time job, something she has been beginning to do. She's been sent home from the restaurant a few times already for panic attacks, and has even complained to vomiting during her breaks. I told her that she's welcome to search for other jobs that she might find easier, which she has started to do. Although it's been almost 3 weeks of working, and I've asked her to do this a minimum of 2 months before quitting and finding something else. She's also not allowed to quit unless she comes to me with a different plan to pay the money back. My husband told me that he's started the application process for an emotional support animal. I was very angry, and I asked him to stop, but he argued that he thinks he should take over her care from now and quit his job while I worked instead. I disagreed because I'm the one who's been handling it for 6 years, but apparently I don't truly understand how sorry she is now. In light of this, I contacted my sister-in-law and told her that I think it would be best that she file a police report. I do want this on record because, as many of you said, they won't give my daughter an animal if they find out about this. She agreed and did file a report, which was totally heartbreaking for me. It really hurts to have to do something like this to my daughter. My husband did find out, and we've now been arguing for days. He's incredibly angry, but I'm attempting to stick with this. I'm not sure how the next few weeks will pan out, but I will say that I'm incredibly worried for the future. I have no idea what to do now, or how to get my husband to see my side. This is very concerning, but thank you for listening, Reddit. And for those of you who gave support and advice, I really, really appreciate it. In the comments, Common Effing Sense says, "This is a hill that I would die on. That girl does not deserve a dog, and you did the right thing telling sister-in-law to file that report. I know that's hard for you, but it was in fact the correct thing. Your husband is being a Disney dad, and in the long run, that is not going to help your daughter at all. Hopefully, real-life consequences will show her how wrong exactly what she did is. Your husband is an idiot. Her being sorry is not enough to make up for what she did, and is no proof that she should be trusted around another animal, especially with a bipolar diagnosis. Good on you for pushing for a police report. This protects everyone, including any dog that might be subjected to your daughter. Tell your husband to stop with the daddy's girl dad mentality and to look at this logically. She is not ready for a dog of her own. That would be completely inappropriate and illogical at this time. What did the psychiatrist say about an emotional support animal? Maybe he or she should talk to your husband. I still say that you need to pay your sister-in-law back. You are still punishing her. Your daughter can pay you back so your sister-in-law doesn't have to wait forever. When you took your daughter to the therapist for the mental health diagnosis, what did they say about getting the emotional support animal? Also, I'd be wary about the second opinion because at 15 she is still too young to be diagnosed as bipolar. They only diagnose adults with bipolar because it can be quite difficult between depression, anxiety, and teenage hormones to actually see what the normal for emotions are. I was 15 and they told me that I was too young to be diagnosed that way, but still I probably had it and they put me on antipsychotics. that I quit after a few months because it wasn't doing anything besides making me sleepy. Spoiler alert, addressing my depression and anxiety as an adult and getting an ADHD diagnosis and tackling that, and bipolar has never been mentioned again. I'm tired of seeing animals be abused under the guise of being emotional support for humans. Thank you for putting your foot down. I also suggest finding a new therapist for your daughter. She may make more progress with someone new. There are so many irresponsible pet owners who are able to gain a nebulous emotional support animal status for their pet to circumvent rules that are designed to prevent people from being irresponsible pet owners. I loved this comment from Dandelion Buzz. Yeah, wanted to hop on the top comment to add that myself and a few friends all have various types of bipolar disorder, 1 or 2, and none of us have ever thought to hurt a dog, let alone any animal during a hypomanic or manic episode. OP needs to make sure that they don't use the bipolar disorder as an excuse to dismiss any of the daughter's issues. That is a major empathy problem that existed before the episode. Bipolar disorder is an explanation, but it's not an excuse. Explaining this bit like I'm talking to OP. While in a manic episode, you're really not yourself or in control. It doesn't change that it's real to others. Your hurt you may cause to others during it are very real to them. You have to take accountability for your actions during it and work to be better anyway. Saying, "Oh, sorry, I was manic," doesn't erase their hurt. If anything, it causes more pain because you aren't acknowledging what you did to them. That's the first big lesson you have to learn once diagnosed. Not accepting that will make life 10 times harder. They should definitely wait at least 6 months before re-evaluating if the daughter is actually sorry and could handle a service dog. I'd personally push for a year. If they're going the medication route for it, it can take months to find the right medication and dose alone. The wrong meds can actually accidentally make things worse. There should be zero thoughts of even introducing an animal until she is more stable. There is also a husband problem. He's starting to enable her. She will never progress in managing both social anxiety and the bipolar disorder if they enable her. My parents didn't, and it's the best thing they ever did for me. OP, I'd actually recommend a phone job for the daughter. She won't have to leave the house if it's work from home, and they'd give her a script of what to say if she gets nervous, so it's not as on-the-spot feeling as a traditional job can be. It's pretty harsh exposure therapy for phone anxiety specifically, but I didn't truly start to cope with my anxiety until I had that job. This was a brilliant comment. Like, there is maybe less than 1% that have issues with animals. There is a totally separate percentage, however, who are very aware of intrusive thoughts that will ask them to do harm to humans and animals, but they actively seek help to stop these thoughts. Often it is a medication response, but very few do have it related to different conditions that are yet to present. Ultimately, knowing that panic attacks often occur when in a manic episode, this comment supports the fact that daughter needs to have other methods of treatment way before an animal that is supposed to help with panic attacks, but not manic episodes. Also, I'm hoping that OP also looks at testing family members, as it's often a relative who also suffers from this condition or similar. And I hope that these words of advice can help anyone else that might have been interested in these kinds of things or didn't know a lot about manic episodes. We saw that one big story where the woman cheated and dropped 10 grand and sent a bunch of erratic voice recordings while in a manic episode. And in those cases, it's like, yeah, absolutely, what you did was wrong, and unfortunately it did a lot of damage. But I don't particularly blame you for it happening. It's just that living with that reality of the curse that is set upon you would be really hard, and I empathize with you. But in this case, with this story with the dog, I don't think that this was a manic episode for her. The way she described the events, she was totally lucid, and this was a choice that she made. I think if we do get more updates on this in the future, that marriage's days are numbered. He is enabling the daughter. He is doing so much damage when he thinks that he is doing good by helping her out and advocating for her. That is a sinking ship right there that OP needs to abandon. I'm so glad that OP is sticking to their guns with this one, and I hope that they find a peaceful resolution to this problem. Thank you for sharing your story with us. Am I the asshole for giving my gluten-free mother gluten without telling her? So my mother and I don't have a great relationship. Throughout my life, she has pushed all kinds of fad diets, self-help flavored fads, and even conversion therapy via the troubled teen industry on me. She's never apologized for any of it, despite me telling her how much it all messed me up. I still haven't mustered up the guts to go no contact because she's still married to my dad, who I do get along with and generally like. Well, I recently moved to a new place in a really nice area because I just got a really nice new job. Suddenly, my mum really wants to come and visit and see me. I do my best to make up excuses, but she pushes so hard that eventually I cave. One of the things I've been doing since moving into my new place is a lot of cooking because I have a nice big kitchen all to myself. I love weird food, and finding new ways to get protein in my diet without using meat. Something I've had a lot of fun making lately is la tiao. It's probably not weird to some people, but to my sheltered American self, it was funky as hell, and I loved the idea of it. So I started making it from scratch and discovered that I loved it. Well, my mum and dad got here yesterday afternoon or evening and settled in, and we started talking about dinner. As usual, mum has to pick after looking at online menus for a couple of hours to make sure they fit with her dietary requirements. She ends up picking a vegan restaurant that's across town, but she's just so tired from the drive up that she can't fathom getting back in the car. So Dad and I agree to go pick it up while she rests. Driving across my new city is a long process, which I told her ahead of time, and it's a little over an hour later when we get home with the vegan/gluten-free food that she wanted. She's not vegan, but she is adamantly gluten-free and has been for a few years now. We get inside, and as I'm opening the food in the kitchen, I notice the Pyrex Snapware container of la tiao that was in my fridge is now empty in my sink. She even dumped out the sauce that I'd been soaking them in. I asked her if she'd eaten something out of my fridge while we were gone, and she said that yes, she has eaten some chicken because she was getting lightheaded from hunger, but it was terrible, and she was ready for some real food. Now, this is where I might have been the arsehole. Instead of telling her what she had actually eaten, I just rolled my eyes and dished up the food for everyone, and we ate. She continued to remark about how bad and oily the chicken was, and how relieved she was to finally eat something substantial throughout the rest of the evening. My dad kept trying to change the subject, and she kept coming back to it. I finally snapped when she brought it up again first thing this morning when I was picking them up from their hotel. I asked them where they wanted to go for breakfast, and my mum made a joke about not wanting me to cook them breakfast because she didn't want more oily chicken or something to that effect. I finally said, "Mum, that was homemade la tiao, and I don't understand why you ate all of it if you hated it so much." She asked me what la tiao is, and I explained that it's just vital wheat gluten and water steamed and soaked in sauce. I practically watched as her face dropped, and sure enough, within 30 minutes, her stomach was killing her, and she was having difficulty breathing and needed to go to the emergency room. The whole time we were there, she went on and on to the nurses and doctors about how I had fed her gluten and not told her until it was too late for her to take her medicine, and crying, because now the whole trip was ruined. Mind you, this is the hospital where I work. My dad pulled me aside to tell me that he was disappointed that I hadn't spoken up last night, and how what I'd done not only hurt my mother's feelings, but also put her health and safety at risk. He asked me to go home and think about my actions and give my mother some space. And now I'm just sitting here alone in my cool new place, feeling like a dick and super anxious about what work is going to be like next week. I'm torn because I don't think that it's my fault that she ate my food without talking to me first, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't omit the information about what she'd eaten because I was pissed at her and just didn't want to discuss it further. I also didn't expect it to make her so sick. So am I the arsehole? In the comments, Lapsteel Guitar says, "Your mum took food out of your fridge and ate it without checking first as to what it was. This is not on you. As for not telling your mum last night and her physical reaction this morning, this is a mental issue, not a physical issue. She didn't get sick until she found out what she ate. She's fine. I bet she never eats anything from your fridge again. Not the arsehole. Who eats something out of someone's fridge that they don't know what they're eating when they have food allergies? Not the arsehole. You didn't give it to her, she took it without even knowing what it was. Whether you told her at the time, or whenever you did, the outcome would have still been the same, and you'd have still been made out to be the bad guy in the situation. It was a lose-lose situation. My nephew has celiac disease, and is a 4 to 5-year-old. The parents would have specifically asked regarding food being prepared safely for him. My brother-in-law let them know that they would know before the end of the meal if the restaurant provided a safe gluten-free meal. Lady complaining of medical concerns after finding out the next day? Come on. Yeah, she's a bit of a wally, that one. Don't know why she's being so dramatic as to put on such a show the next day. She's such a good actor. She's so good at faking medical emergencies and then embarrassing you at your place of work, knowing that you work there. I'm sorry, but if I had a mother like that, I'd be going very low contact with them until they stop pulling that shit. How embarrassing. And I know that you wanted to go no contact with her because of your dad, but you can talk to him and be like, hey, she sucks. I respect that you want to be with her still, but I'd rather be your mate than her mate. She is an embarrassment. She embarrasses me. She takes advantage of me. You saw how she acted on this trip, and if you continue to placate that behavior of hers, we're gonna have a problem. That's what you should do in this situation, OP. You're not the asshole here for giving it to her because you didn't give it to her. She snooped around and found out. That's not your fault. And now, onto the updates. So I just got home, and after everything that went down this morning, I went back to the hospital to check on my parents. My mom was sleeping and still in the ED, and so I got to talk to my dad and the doctor a bit. My dad still thought that I should apologize. I told him I would when she woke up. When I talked to the doctor a bit, I started asking about testing. I asked if they'd done a test for the specific kind of immunoglobulin present in celiacs when someone has gluten, and she said she hadn't actually needed to because apparently my mum had that test done in the past with her PCP. The doctor asked me if I worked in the medical field, and I told her that yes, I worked in the lab. She then volunteered a bit more information than she probably should have, but I'm glad she did because I feel a bit better. She managed to get my mum's lab results faxed over and looked them over. Apparently, my mum's TTG IgA was low enough that it was absolutely clear that my mother does not have celiac disease. The doctor had offered to refer her for a biopsy, which is standard procedure for confirmation of celiac, and my mother declined. I later confirmed with my dad that it was because she didn't think that it was worth it to go through all the expense and pain of surgery to confirm something she already knows. Furthermore, according to the nurse, my mother was given lorazepam, which he was told was for her stomach pain and nausea. He actually put this in air quotes with his fingers. In case you were not familiar with lorazepam, it's a benzo that is also used as an antipsychotic/anti-anxiety sedative along with gastro symptoms. Apparently the medicine my mum was talking about was some kind of holistic/herbal thing. The cherry on top is that the nurse is Chinese and loves Latiao, and I now have a new work friend. I thanked them all for their help, and they indicated that she was ready to be discharged. My dad was not inclined to wake her up, but I explained that there were other people waiting that needed to be seen, and they couldn't be seen if there were no open beds. I then asked the doctor if she could write my mum a script for more lorazepam, which she agreed to, which seemed to placate my dad. I wheeled my mum out to the car. She was high as hell and going on and on about how she couldn't believe that I'd poisoned her, and if I wasn't her daughter, then I'd be going to prison. I just apologized. I didn't offer any excuses. When I got them to their hotel, and my mum was waiting on a couch in the lobby while my dad grabbed her bags from my car, I told my dad it was probably better if they just go home. I'm not gonna lie, I got a little emotional, and he agreed. So yeah, based on the lab work and the way the ED staff were acting, I'm convinced my mum was faking for sympathy and attention. Not that it matters, because my dad will always support her no matter what. I'm never having them over again. In the comments, Capybara Cuddles says, "It's really tough to live with a center-stage mother and complicit father. At least they're a plane ride away. I'm really glad that this time you told your dad to his face that he should leave. That took guts." OP says, "Honestly, I've done this to myself multiple times. Every time I see my mom, I hope that things will be better, and every time I get my heart broken. I haven't seen them for years now, and once again, I kind of naively got my hopes up after I caved. When she's not around, I really enjoy hanging out with my dad, and that's what makes this so hard to commit to. It's called toxic hope, and it's hella hard to let go of it. Are there articles about toxic hope? It sounds like something I need to read up on. I'm sure there are, but I don't know of any offhand. It was a phrase an old therapist used to describe me wanting a different relationship with my mum than what she was capable of having with me. Constantly hoping she would change, and the subsequent crushing disappointment in her and anger at myself when she couldn't was incredibly toxic. And like most toxic materials, you can get rid of the bulk of it, but traces always seem to remain, popping up when you least expect it. Damn. Quotes, my dad still thought I should apologize, and I told him I would, and I just apologized. OP, I hope you're in therapy. You literally found out from medical staff that she's an effing liar, and you still apologized. You need to learn how to advocate for yourself, set healthy boundaries, and hold others to account. OP says, I am. Sometimes you just gotta say what it takes to get through the day. I know what you mean though. I read your other story. Your dad is not your friend or a good guy. These relationships aren't worth it. And the thing is, if you're in OP's situation, it's so easy for other people to say that to you. But when you're in the midst of it, and it's someone that you love and you care about, and you write things that show they are toxic and they aren't good for you, but you're still attached to them, that's hard. That's really hard to let go of someone like that. I really do empathize with OP in this situation, and really, their decision to not have their parents over again is probably the best middle ground that you can have in this situation. As nice as it would be to hear about them cutting the parents off or going low contact, extremely low contact with them, I don't know how realistic that really is. How many people are actually willing to make that change in their lives? We can inform people as much as possible on Reddit and YouTube and give them guidance until the cows come home, but I don't expect another update from OP. I don't think that OP will cut her parents out of her life. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it is what it is. As always, thank you for sharing your story with us. That was a bit of a frustrating ending, but I get where you're coming from. Our next post is by user For Good Times, titled, Am I the asshole for telling my sister I won't be her surrogate? I, Celeste, 30 female, have an identical twin sister. We'll call her Stacy for the sake of the story. Our mother unfortunately passed in child labor, and we were raised by our father. Stacy has been married to Jeff for 8 years. I have been in a relationship with Mike for 3 years now. One thing I've always known about my sister is that she wanted to be a mom. Even when we were children, she was always thinking about wedding ideas, nursery themes, baby names, etc. I was always more focused on books and having fun. I am now a flight attendant. I am also attempting to become a published author. My sister has not worked, ever, honestly. When we graduated high school, we went straight to college, she met her boyfriend in college, and once she graduated, she became a stay-at-home girlfriend until she became his wife. I've known for a while that my sister has been attempting to become pregnant unsuccessfully. She's experienced a single miscarriage and has been unable to become pregnant again after thousands and thousands of dollars being spent on IVF, and pretty much anything they could do because she wanted to experience pregnancy. After 5 years of no success, they've started to discuss other options. My sister isn't interested in adoption and is very adamant on having a child that has both of their DNA. Her words, not mine. About 3 weeks ago, she came to my house and we were hanging out as we usually do, just chatting and watching Modern Family. She told me she had a serious question and needed to ask me while she still had her nerves. It scared me, but she asked if I could be her surrogate. I was frozen for a second and asked what she meant. She told me that I knew what surrogacy was. She needed me to be her surrogate. I expressed that she knew that I wasn't interested in having children. This could definitely be due to how we came into the world, but I'll be honest and say I have never found the thought of having children appealing in any way. I told her that I would have zero issues with donating my eggs to her. However many she needed, she could have them all. But I could not carry her child. Upon hearing that, she became so angry. Her face was so red, and she was just yelling about how it's obvious how jealous and hateful I am because this is a small task. I didn't want to bring it to her attention that she has always spoke about having more than 4 kids. Would the expectation be for me to do this every time? I don't know. I'm starting to feel so bad. She ended up telling me that if I couldn't do this one thing for her, then how could I ever call myself her sister? She broke a picture of us that I have sitting on my mantle and stormed out. Since then, she's only texted me pictures of her diaries from when we were kids, and all of their vision boards saying that I'm stopping her from creating a family for no reason and to think about the bigger picture. My boyfriend refuses to give me advice, saying that it's my sister, and he doesn't feel comfortable attempting to sway me in either direction because it's such a touchy subject. Honestly, this is the longest I've ever gone without communicating with my sister, and I'm seriously on the verge of giving in. In the comments, DuckDuckGoose1 says, "Most doctors would refuse to allow you to be a surrogate as you've not previously had children. She'll be hard-pressed to find one that would. Not to mention, she's asking her sister to sacrifice her body and potentially her life to fulfill her dream. That is not fair at all. If she can afford IVF, she can afford a surrogate, not the arsehole." I'd also add that her losing her temper in this way screams she's not stable enough to enter this sort of relationship with, not the arsehole. She did it to manipulate her sister. If she has a kid, she'll manipulate its whole life to match her vision boards. And that we're sisters argument goes both ways. If she loved OP as a sister, she would accept her decision. It has nothing to do with being related. If you're asking someone to be a surrogate or to donate eggs, then you need to be prepared for them to say no. If your attitude towards your family and friends will change if they deny your request for fertility assistance, don't effing ask in the first place. You're assuming that she cares. Silly mistake. Not the arsehole. You are not the arsehole for refusing to be a surrogate for your sister. It's your body, and you have the right to decide what you do with it. Your sister's reaction is unreasonable and manipulative, and you shouldn't feel pressured into doing something that you're not comfortable with. This goes beyond being unreasonable. This is the sister acting entitled over OP's life and body just because of her own dreams of having kids with her shared DNA. To hell with OP's own decision of not going through birth because of what happened to their mother, it's only the sister's dreams that matter. The sister is acting like a damn child who isn't ready to be a parent. Quote, "It's obvious how jealous and hateful I am because this is a small task." This is not a small task. This is one of the most serious medical procedures that one could ever go through, not the arsehole. Back up to the post, there is an edit. I am reading all the comments, and I want to say thank you so much. I feel so much better knowing that I'm not the villain, but I'd be lying if I said that I'm not leaning towards just doing it. This disconnect with my sister brings me immense discomfort in ways that I cannot verbally express. But I see 2 frequent questions that I want to answer to hopefully get different answers. Money. My mother did not die of natural causes, it was provider error. My father sued the hospital, and my sister and I have sizable trusts with that money. So money is not an issue for either of us, and her husband is financially well off as well. So not working for 9 months or paying for the egg retrieval process, etc. isn't an issue in any way. It's more so her stubbornness for the baby to share our DNA and for one of us to be carrying it. Since we're identical, if she can't have a baby, then how can I? Her lack of being able to have a child is due to a car accident that we were in, which is also the source of the miscarriage that she experienced. Due to her being in the front seat with our father, they took the brunt of the crash, unfortunately. Her body is now unable to carry a child, and she has had extreme complications with egg retrieval. I'm not sure about the details of how that has gone wrong, just that it is not working and not an option. It's hard to get her to discuss non-viable options so I can gain a better understanding. Doctors will not allow me to be a surrogate due to me not having a child. Thank you so much for this information. We have family dinner coming up this Thursday because we always watch football with our dads and significant others. I'm sure this topic will come up if she decides to attend, and I'm hoping that I can bring this up to her. Yeah, that's a very good linchpin to have in your arsenal, OP. I definitely think that you want to continually push the issue with that one. say, I'm never planning to have kids myself, and I can't be a surrogate because I haven't had kids yet, so you're in a catch-22 situation, Mr. Sister. This ain't gonna work out the way you think it is. As hard as it is to be in conflict with your sibling in this situation, and it's obvious that you do have a lot of love for her, that I can definitely see, what is the better option for you here? Is it placating your sister and getting pregnant potentially twice just so that she can have one child? Like, with surrogacy as well, that's a really invasive and hormonally intensive process, not to mention everything else along with that process. Or is it easier for you to just keep saying no and have to deal with not talking to her for a while? To me, it's like, would I rather climb Mount Everest, or would I rather walk up this, hill that has Lego blocks on it and I'm barefoot and it's really, ouch, painful and inconvenient and I don't want to do it, but it sure as hell is easier than going up Mount Everest, that's for sure. And now, onto the update. So, I promised an update tomorrow, but my dad actually ended up calling me while I was hanging out and told me to come over for dinner yesterday night so we could talk. I want to start by saying thank you so much for all the comments and advice. Some of you are jerks to not only me, but my sister and boyfriend as well, but I still appreciate the help. I didn't even ask about what when my dad called. I figured he had spoken to Stacy. Based on comments, I know you guys won't be happy, but I spoke with my boyfriend about where his head was if I were to go forward with it. He told me that he loved me and would support me through any and everything. But he would not continue to sit by while my sister made me feel like trash, and if I was doing this under coercion, he would not be able to support me, which I honestly completely understand. When we went over to my dad's for dinner, my sister and brother-in-law were already there. I spoke to them both when we walked in, but only my sister replied. My brother-in-law gave me the most disgusting look and greeted my boyfriend only. My dad sat us down at the table, and there was just this awkward silence and tension that I could cut with a butcher knife. He said, "Somebody talk. We need to get this resolved before the game tomorrow night." My dad loves football. I started off the conversation by telling her that I did some research, and at top of my initial concerns, I now had a few more and needed to know exactly what she needed from me. I first asked her what being a surrogate would look like. She just said, "Are you agreeing to it?" When I told her no, I just needed some more details, she broke down crying. I asked her if she knew that a doctor would deny me from being a surrogate, given that I've never successfully carried a child to term, and she said she knew that, and she would just send my brother-in-law and I to a center of excellence. We can pretend we're a couple, and once I'm successfully inseminated, then I would request a transfer from that provider to her OBGYN for the continuation of care. My father intervened and said that asking me to do something a doctor wouldn't sign off on was a terrible way to attempt to begin motherhood. You could tell that he wasn't on board with any of it, but didn't want to pick a side. He asked her why she was so uncomfortable with the idea of a surrogate, and that's when my brother-in-law interjected and said, "Don't try to berate my wife with these stupid questions. Talk to your selfish witch of a daughter about why she can't help her sister." That immediately shifted the mood. My boyfriend started to yell at him for calling me a witch. My dad told him he could not disrespect his daughters in his home. Everything just went up in flames. My sister was crying, asking me to do her this favor, practically begging. I told her that if I could trade places with her, I would. But I was scared and just didn't want to die. I think that was the first time I had ever said that out loud. We couldn't get more solved after that. My dad asked my brother-in-law to leave because he couldn't control himself and refused to apologize. When he was walking out, my sister told him she would meet him in the car, asked me to come and talk to her on the porch, just the two of us. I went out with her and she apologized for her husband calling me a witch, said that they were just on edge and that it's been stressful. I told her that she shouldn't apologize for him and that we'd figure something out. She asked me to reconsider and just kept saying, "You don't get it. You don't understand." When I pressured her for more, she admitted that her in-laws made a cruel joke at one of their dinners recently about how she was a murderer, referring to the child she lost. She said she asked him why he didn't stand up for her when they made the joke, and he said because it was true. Oh, shit. Oh my god. That's a divorce. He made some weird comments about her not being able to make up for it, and how he was so excited to see what their child would look like, and how he would never be able to look into a child and see pieces of them both. So she had this idea of me carrying the child, and he was super on board. But the way she said it was like he planted a seed, and she seems to believe that it was her idea. She said she hadn't seen him that excited since the baby, and she just needed my help to get everything back to normal. I tried to explain to her that nothing would ever be normal again, and that what she was trying to do was the wrong thing. But he just started blaring the horn, rushing her to the car, and she said that she would call me later. I feel like I may lose my sister, but I now am not even willing to donate my eggs for her to have a baby with him. I took your guys' advice and looked up the egg donation process, and wow, not at all what I expected. I want her to divorce him. I am never going to help her procreate with that man. I genuinely think that I would be a surrogate for her to be a single mom before I would ever allow her to place his child in me or take my eggs to ever create a child with him. I had no clue that his family was pushing so much guilt onto her. I have literally been jumping at my phone every time it rings because I know she'll be calling soon, and I'll have to tell her that. I'm terrified I'll lose my sister, but I can't and won't do this. Probably won't update anymore, but thanks for all the help. I'll probably create my own Reddit now because I'm kind of obsessed with this site. Lol. In the comments, Dimmyrag says, "What a manipulative bastard he is. Your sister should divorce and stay away from her in-laws. No wonder that man is the way he is. He needs therapy ASAP." OP showing some healthy backbone, about which there was some doubt in the first post. Assuming this is real, it's a super stressful situation, but she appears to be rising to the occasion. Assholes seems like an inadequate word to describe sister's husband and his family. Who the hell thinks being a surrogate is a small ask? OP is so nice. I would stop talking to my sister myself if I had one and she thought that it was my duty to be her incubator. And a man has no right to even say what women should be willing to do. This whole thing is insane. The sister is complicit, but she's also a victim here. The brother-in-law and family are toxic, manipulative, and disgusting. If OP can stay in touch without engaging with the family, she might save her sister. Oh my god, I was getting sick to my stomach reading this. So afraid they had pushed you into this. Thank God you came to the conclusion that the awful man should not be a father. His family shouldn't be around children either. Somehow, your sister needs to realize that even if she finds a way to get him his child, she will always be treated like this by him and his family. In fact, he may escalate. I don't know if he was once a decent guy or not. Many couples who lose a child change and can't recover. Concentrate on saving your sister, not the asshole. Hell, those in-laws would probably kick OP's poor sister to the curb the minute they would get a baby from her. So it may be for the best, especially with how toxic they all appear to be. Sometimes with miscarriages, the issue could be with the husband having poor quality sperm, not necessarily the egg. So that's something to consider, not the asshole. Honestly, what a mess. That threw me in a tailspin hearing him say that and hearing the family say that, because in what world was her being in a car accident, her murdering that child, like... Oh my god, I'd be out of there yesterday. I'd be out of there last year. What a vile and pathetic excuse for a family that is. How she can stay with this guy after hearing that from them and having him support them instead of being like, what is wrong with you absolute losers? Jesus Christ. I'm very much concerned for her. I am very much concerned for her safety and her future. I do hope that in future updates, if we get them, which we probably will, OP does something to help her sister get the hell out of there. Because I feel like he is going to escalate his behavior. Anyway, definitely not the asshole. Thank you for sharing your story with us. All the best in the future, OP. Am I the asshole here for breaking up with my boyfriend because I had a bad feeling about his best friend and him and decided to avoid drama? I, 22 female, was always a really chill person. I've always gotten along with everyone, and I really appreciate my mental peace. I hate unnecessary drama. I've been dating Zach for 3 years. He's always had his best friend Mia, who was studying in another country. They've always talked via text or video call. That never interested me at all because I also have male friends. Mia was always disinterested when Zach was by my side on his video calls, and I wasn't interested in her either, to be honest, but Zach wanted us to be friends, so I tried. Mia listens to the same music as me, so once 3 years ago, I texted her on WhatsApp to try to have a friendly conversation, but she saw the message and never answered me and blocked my number. I thought, what a rude biznatch, but I let it go and never talked about it to Zach, so I wouldn't make trouble. I just think that maybe she doesn't want to make friends, and I respect that. Not long ago, she returned to our country to stay and live here again. Zach asked me if she could stay in our apartment, and I said no, because I don't feel comfortable with people staying there. Apparently, Zach told her that I was the one who refused to let her be with us because Mia has been doing everything to criticize me since that day. She has criticized my work, my studies, my hair, my clothes, etc. Zach always says that's just how Mia is, and I should be her friend because she's really funny. Many times, she tried to make me jealous with comments like, "You know that I used to take baths with Zach when we were little kids?" And she would get upset when I just said, "Alright," at those random comments because, what the hell? Why should I be jealous of that? She sits on Zach's lap. He doesn't say anything to her about that, even if he knows that I don't like it. He cuddles with her every time they have a chance, they whisper to each other and go out together sometimes, and I obviously can't help but think that in any moment I will come back to the apartment and she will be wearing one of his shirts, and I just don't want to deal with that, to be honest. The worst thing is that Zach really seems to like seeing me jealous. When I tell him something is bothering me, he laughs, saying, "Aw, you're jelly," and stuff like that, without taking me seriously. It's pretty annoying to know that he likes me to feel that way, and Mia has been really irritable lately, as if she's competing with me. It feels like they're trying to make a novella with me. She always tries to make me jealous with stupid things, like when she said she knows Zach's favorite sushi and I don't, to which I replied, "Then buy sushi for everyone, because I don't care at all." I've told Zach on several occasions that his friend is an idiot, and he just says that Mia is like that and that I should just ignore her comments. But honestly, I don't have the energy to deal with that girl and not beat her up at the end of the month. So I told Zach that I'm gonna move out, and it's better to give ourselves some time. I haven't moved yet, so he's been coming to my room to tell me that I'm letting my insecurities speak for me, and he doesn't feel anything for Mia. I told him that I'm not insecure, I just want to protect my mental peace and avoid drama. He got angry, saying that I should fight for him and not be so apathetic. He said that if I love him, I would be fighting for him, but I've always had the philosophy that if someone wants to cheat on you, they will do it, even if you say no. I don't know if I'm being too cold about this, but I'm not the kind of person who enjoys drama. I was always the cold type of person. I hate it, and I know Zach and Mia are enjoying this love triangle. I really care about Zach, and we had a great relationship, but I care much more about my mental health. Am I the asshole here? Edits. I haven't moved out yet because we pay rent together. The whole month of the rent has already been paid by me because he couldn't come up with the money to pay for this month, but he's supposed to pay for the next month. And guys, I don't have a problem with this. He didn't take advantage of me or anything. Something happened and he ran out of money for rent. Nothing about this. Plus, I have to wait for my parents to fix my room again, so for now, I have to leave my things here. At the beginning of the year, the lease was updated, so I spent a lot of money on that. As well, rent went up by 40%, so it's wasted money now. I'm pretty sad about that since my father was the one who helped me pay for my part of the expenses of that apartment. In the comments, ZeldaPin says, "If he isn't fighting for you, why should you fight for him?" Yes, if he loved her, he would respect reasonable boundaries and ask his friend to take a step back when she crosses them. He clearly is enjoying having two women be jealous and fight over him enough to actually be super vocal about enjoying jealousy, which most men who enjoy this situation are not stupid enough to do. It seems like he enjoys the jealousy so much that he would go out of his way to create situations that would promote it, probably edging closer and closer to cheating. Seriously, I can't believe you won't fight for me when other women sit on my lap. Don't you know that you should strip your clothes off and offer a threesome to win my attention back? Him, essentially. You should never have to fight for the respect or attention of your partner. This is called triangulation, bringing in a third person to 1. Make you feel insecure, and 2. Make you jump through hoops to win his love. If you stay, he can always do whatever he wants, otherwise he will threaten to leave you with side piece. She'll be constant competition in your lives. That's the worst red flag. Run. I think he wants her to do the pick-me dance just to stroke his ego. It's not worth it. Not the asshole. Tell him that when two people actually love each other, there is no need to fight for the other person's love. There isn't a reason why you have to deal with another woman sitting on his lap and flirting with you. She isn't respecting you, and he isn't respecting your relationship. Dump his ass and move on. You'll find an amazing person to be with. Agreed, this is just far too much drama for one day. It's doing my head in. I don't know how you have the patience to put up with all of this, but bless you for sticking it out this long, OP. You got a bad feeling about it, trust your guts, and just break it off. Get out of there and live your life with someone that actually respects you, not the asshole. And now, onto the updates. I discovered Mia was sleeping with Zach. She's expecting his baby, and they kicked me out from the apartment, but I'm pregnant too. Nah, that didn't happen. I spoke with Zach to ask him to have a good coexistence, because I'm going to stay a few more months here, because after talking a little bit with him and my father, we came to the conclusion that it's better for us to both continue living together in a healthy way. We both have our bedrooms. After all, he promised me that he wouldn't enter my bedroom without an invitation and apologized for doing that before. There are many reasons why we should continue to live together until at least the lease expires, but I'm not going to bore everyone with those reasons. But most of those reasons are because of money and how expensive the bus would be to get from my home to my work and college every day if I come back to my parents' house. We both cried, and I asked Zach what he expected to happen when I saw him treat Mia that way. He admitted that he likes the way I look when I'm upset. He said it's a self-esteem issue he has, but he needs me to show him all the time that I love him, and the fact that I never reacted affected him a lot. Honestly, he's attractive. I know he's always been pretty conceited, but I used to think that was the way he was. But now I see that it's actually a problem he has. Narcissism. Zach said that when he sees that I don't get jealous in the way that he likes, he feels annoyed and even more insecure because he thinks that I don't love him because he does always show me when he is jealous. He said he doesn't have feelings for Mia at all, but he likes to see my face when she talks to me that way. Zach knows that Mia likes him, but he said that she's like that with all her male friends too, and at first he thought that it was funny to see my annoyed face, but then it started to bother him, the fact I never reacted. I did react, but it was talking like an adult. He probably wanted me to yell and pull her hair. The worst part? I was going to do it 100% if she kept behaving that way, and that's why I decided to cut off the relationship before I reacted that way. Zach even mentioned other times he wanted me to be jealous about other girls. But honestly, I had no idea he did that, because I think if someone's going to cheat on you, they're going to do it even if you tell them not to. I'm not going to fight for a penis. I told him that he is a weird idiot, and his insecurity ruined our relationship. I had that thought of, did I really sleep with this person? So now I want the earth to swallow me. He has always been very kind, and we had a beautiful relationship, but I just can't forget that behavior and the fact he made me feel bad about Mia. Our conversation was pretty calm after that. Zach admitted that he ruined our relationship, and I made it clear to him that we won't be a couple again. I'm a little bit uncomfortable, but surely as the days go by, we can be friends, or at least be civil with each other. At the end of the day, we're both looking for different things in a couple. He wants a passionate woman who feels things just as intensely as he does, in his words, and I want a mature and focused man to live in peace. I think I'm too cold for him, and he's looking for another kind of woman. Anyway, Just know that no, I'm not going to be in a relationship with Zach again. That boat is already gone. For now, I just want to try to make this coexistence work, since we both know that it is what it is, and it's convenient for us, and at least for my part, I am not going to screw it up. Some of OP's answers about Mia. OP says, Zach told me that he made it clear to Mia that he's not going to sleep with her, but he also said that Mia is flirtatious with everyone, and he kinda justified her behavior, so yeah, according to Zach, Mia knows everything. But that's what Zach said, so who knows if it's true or not. For my part, they can both F off, and I don't plan on talking to Mia again. Mia knows. I think they both just like the attention. In the comments, my ladybit says, Zach is a moron. He will absolutely sleep with Mia while OP is still living there to get a reaction. OP, grey rock your ex. OP says, he's not going to get any reaction anyway. If they do, I hope it's in his room so that I can watch the TV in peace. Ugh, I just hope that OP blocks Zach the instant the lease is up and never gives him another thought. Jealous insecurity is not passion. If she dates before she moves out, that idiot is going to lose the 3 marbles rattling around his head. Well, how generous of you to assume that he has as many as 3. This is probably the healthiest way that OP could have handled the situation. It sucks that she's locked in the lease though, but honestly, the bus fare might have been worth it to avoid the drama. For how dramatic that situation could have been, OP waltzed through the war zone and came out unscathed. She's pretty damn great at squashing brewing drama and not engaging in existing drama. I'm quite impressed. Partners who talk about their deep feelings in a calm, healthy, and productive fashion, while also giving their partners the time to make an effective change, while still recognizing their own behavior and choosing to maintain a personal boundary? So hot right now. Me when I get brainwashed to kill the Malaysian Prime Minister. But yeah, that was a pretty good way to handle it. You know, so anticlimactic and so mature, OP. We're all about fights, immaturity, and doing the worst thing possible, handling situations in the worst way possible. How dare you come here and tarnish our sacred ground, OP? I spit in your general direction for that one. Disgusting. But regardless, you know, you are very much mentally strong. I don't know how you deal with all that bullshit, but good on you. And as always, thank you for sharing the story with us. Our next post is by user accident number 2, titled, Am I the asshole for not letting my husband come back? I, 23 female, have been with my husband, 27 male, for almost 3 years. We eloped and almost immediately were expecting. We were both very excited and everything was perfect until the baby came. Our daughter is 1 now. For the entire first year of her life, he came home from work, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. every day, and immediately took a nap that ranged from 2 to 4 hours long. On his days off, he insisted that I get up with her while he slept in, and when he finally did get up, he gamed until he was ready for his daily nap. The household chores started piling up because I was caring for our daughter full-time and working from home nearly 60 hours a week. I expressed feeling like I was doing everything on my own and I needed help with the household chores or for him to watch her so that I could take care of the house. He was dismissive and said he actually goes to work and wants to be able to relax when he comes home. An argument breaks out, I cry, he takes her for an hour, and I do what I can in that time. This cycle continues. This argument happened at least 7 times before she was 8 months old. Right after she reached 7 months, we got a vacate or pay notice. I had given him control of the finances because it was too much for me to balance a baby, maintain the house, and work. I asked him about it and he said that it was fine. He just had to wait for his paycheck. Ultimately, I found out that he was buying fast food for lunch every day at work and sometimes on the way home and eating it in the car so that I wouldn't know. McDonald's was single-handedly draining our bank accounts. Our bank accounts, not just his. I didn't leave the house very often unless it was for grocery shopping, so I didn't notice that he had my debit card as well. We ended up not being able to pay rent. We moved into the family room in my mum's basement. Several key events happened that you need for context. I sold my car so that we could have some money. but so stupidly put the money into my bank account instead of holding onto it. We now had only one car. He lost his job due to attendance issues, consistently calling out and being late, and got a new job with less hours and less pay. I got laid off because the contract I was working under in my company expired, and their partners did not want to renew it. We decided that it would be easier for me to just stay home with the baby instead of finding a job outside the home. Really, it would just require us to put my daughter in daycare so I could go work, but we didn't have the money, and he was still spending money recklessly, so we weren't able to save up any money for it. My mum removed me as a second beneficiary on her will because she didn't trust that my husband would allow me to have control of the money that I would get to take care of my two minor siblings. That turned into a huge argument between him and I because I see why my mum chose to do that. I told him that he needs to start acting like a responsible adult who has a child to provide for because I would leave him if his behavior came between me and my ability to take care of my family. He reluctantly gave me all the debit cards and said something along the lines of, "It's great to know that your whole family thinks I'm so terrible." We got our tax return and the money got spent on a PS5, a year-long PS Plus membership, games for the PS5, and fast food. More context events. He started being protective of his phone. He won't let me use it for a quick search, to call my phone when I can't find it, or even just for the flashlight. He started drinking frequently and wanting to go to a nearby dive bar by himself, claiming he wanted to be alone and insisting that he doesn't want me to go. He got a boot on the car while he was at said bar. He called me at 2 a.m. asking if I had $105 in my Venmo so that he could pay to get the boot off. I did not. I got mad and told him to figure it out himself. He came home and I confronted him about our financial situation. I asked for the receipt or service ticket from the boot, and he said he didn't get either of those from the security people. He said he'll turn over all financial control to me. Spoiler, he doesn't follow through. Flash forward to the Wednesday after her first birthday. I want to take a shower at around 2 before I go to my sister's rugby game at 5. I ask him to watch our daughter so that I can go shower. He makes a big deal of having to start prep for dinner and that he was about to eat lunch. I told him I can wait. I just need to be in the shower by 3:30 so I can have time to get myself and the baby ready to go by 4:30 when we need to leave. He says, "Okay, I think I can do that. In the future, it'd be easier if you showered at night when she's sleeping." I had a physical response to that comment. To this point of her entire life, I had only been doing exactly that. And at this point, her molars are coming in, so she's not sleeping well. Just a couple of days before this conversation, I had tried to shower after she went to sleep, but she didn't stay asleep. Instead of getting up and trying to soothe her, he called me and said, "Where are you?" "I'm in the shower." "Well, she's awake." "Okay, then help her." "Well, I have to work in the morning." "Okay, I'm in the shower." "Well, just get out and come take care of her." Back to the current conversation, we start arguing about him not being available to help with her. I told him that he always finds some excuse to avoid taking care of her, and he says he doesn't know how to take care of a baby. In the end, he watches her while I shower, but while watching her, packs away his PS5 and makes a point of telling me that since he is so unavailable, he just won't do anything he wants to do. That Friday is my cousin's 18th birthday. We have a tradition of taking the new adults to the strip club, and I was so excited to go. I asked my husband if he would watch her while I go. I explained that she would already be in bed and that I wouldn't need the car or money because I was getting a ride and someone was going to pay my cover fee. I wasn't interested in getting dances, just hanging out and making fun of my cousin as he awkwardly gets some TNA shaken in his face. He, surprisingly, agrees with no resistance. I go and vent to my aunt and female cousin about the shower arguments. We stop by the bar next door while my cousin gets a private dance and I have a couple drinks. By the time I got home, I was hyped up on spiced rum and "F that, I would have left already" responses. I go through his phone while he's sleeping. I found messages and messages with other women on his phone that include flirting, exchanging nudes, and him asking if they can host because he has roommates. Some of them are escorts that work the area around the dive bar that he's been going to lately, and I had a flashback to the boot situation. I screenshotted all the messages and sent them to myself. I looked through his bank statements and Venmo transactions to see that he's been pulling all of our money out in cash, so there's no way of knowing where it's going. I messaged him, yes, he was sleeping in the bed next to me while I did all of this, and just go off. I let out all my thoughts and feelings about our financial situation, him avoiding taking care of our daughter, the messages, and how I feel for having let him manipulate me for all this time. When he woke up to that, his first question to me was, "Why did you go through my phone?" Needless to say, we separated. I didn't and haven't used the word divorce to him, but that may be the end result. He kept talking about how he has nowhere to go and that I'm throwing him out on the street, and then switching over to he loves me so much and he'll do anything to keep me in his life, and then spitefully saying that he's going to do better and succeed and you'll see. I stood my ground and made him leave. I laid out my expectations, saying I won't even consider taking him back until he consistently goes to therapy, which I expect him to continue if I take him back, and if he shows me he can be financially responsible for even one person, himself, and makes an effort to maintain a relationship with our daughter, not me. It's been 2 weeks, and things have been awful. I've been literally taking notes on things that are happening because I know this traumatized brain of mine is not going to remember how I've been feeling throughout the process or how I felt the day that I told him to leave. It's been 2 weeks, and I already have 8 pages of notes about negative interactions that I've had with him, in contrast with the single paragraph of something positive that he did. Last night, he told me he's scared that he's going to do all of this for nothing, that I won't take him back even if he tries his best, and that he just wants to come home. I want things to work out because we were happy once. Maybe I'm holding out for nothing. He has constantly made me feel like I'm the bad guy for not letting him stay with me while he makes the changes I expect of him. Now I have these thoughts in my head. Am I the bad guy? Should I have tried to let him make changes while staying in the home? I just need some outside perspective, whether it's reassuring or constructive. Thank you. In the comments, Curious Josh says, "Not the asshole. It's important to ask, is this a good partner now? And although that's not to say that it couldn't change in the future, doesn't it seem like it's pretty clear in the present? It sounds like you're doing the right thing in documenting the interactions and how they make you feel so that you can try to remain objective. You are not crazy." OP says, "Thank you. Welcome. Is it good to hear that you're not crazy? FYI, one thing I'd add is if he does therapy, and you even want to consider having him back, you may want to consider couples therapy. I always say relationships involve 2 people, and possibly there's things to work on between you 2 as well, which could help things to work out. As much as one person is acting out, there's almost always valid grievance on both sides that resolving will help a relationship to work in the long run. But I think you're smart in realizing that he hasn't taken these steps yet and needs to show real signs of change, not just sadness that his world is upside down because of his actions. Also, looking at things objectively, you have evidence of cheating, escorts, and large amounts of money disappearing, so a family with 2 incomes can't afford an apartment? That's a very concerning set of red flags to consider. OP says, "Yes, it is nice to hear. And yes, I am also seeking therapy independently. I told him that if it looks like things are going well, we should go to couples counseling and therapy. That guy is an effing loser, and it isn't going to change. It's his nature. Don't waste another second with this nonsense." I'm getting last comment syndrome. OP, I really don't want to punch down on you when you're at a low point here, but come on. He's a pathetic, disgusting loser. How did you even have a baby with this person? Genuinely, how did you not date him for so long and see how inept he was, especially with finances, especially with junk food addiction, and with gaming addiction? Why did you have a child with this person? He doesn't deserve you. How did you put up with it for so long? Like, genuinely, how did you go a year with this guy? I would think that after a few months and people on the outside being like, you need to get the hell out of there, what the hell are you doing? This guy is a freak. He's a sweaty, lazy, disgusting loser who has no respect for you and the child. He doesn't even want that kid. He just had the kid to keep you around. How did you not leave? I don't know how you didn't leave. Please. Leave now while you have the opportunity to do it, now that you're separated. Please God, stop having kids with these vile men. It's not worth it. And now, on to the updates. I got divorced. Okay, back in May, I made a post about my now ex-husband's behavior that led us to separating. I mentioned feel like I was holding out on divorce because we were happy once, but since then, things have changed. After making my post, I read every comment that came in, I consulted with my close family members and friends, and within a week, I told him that I wanted to go through with the divorce. He was mad, accused me of seeing someone else, incorrect, and then told all of our mutual friends that I was out to get him, being a hua-wah-wah, and trying to take our daughter away from him, and that I was only divorcing him for looking at porn, i.e. the nudes from the escorts, see previous post. He threatened a couple of times to flee to California as he's on probation and forget that we exist. It just gets worse. He's on probation. Oh my god. He is such a joke of a person. I actually can't deal with this guy. But nevertheless, I kept all the advice and support in mind, stood my ground, and started filling out the papers. My mum and I filled out the divorce papers together. She has been divorced twice and wrote her own papers both times because 1, she could not afford a lawyer, and 2, she is so incredibly smart and resourceful and just figured it out on her own. In case you couldn't tell, I love and admire my mom so much. She's familiar with the process in the state that we live in and knew every document that we needed and how to fill them out or write our own should we need to modify parts of it. I filed, handed the papers to him myself, and told him he has a week to fill out his voluntary affidavit of service and return the papers to the courthouse, or I would have him served by a third party. He did not follow through, and neither did I. I kept putting it off until one day he called me out of the blue to tell me that he had filed it and got the final divorce decree for us to fill out and file. I was a little bit shocked that he wasn't going to fight anything that I put in the papers, but went along with it before he changed his mind. Just for reference, I did in fact do everything in my power to make the divorce fair, because despite the way that I was treated, I was raised better than to be spiteful. She's the opposite of me, for real. I could never. Especially when children are involved. We do not have any expensive property to divide, aside from his car, which he had before we got married. And I gave myself majority custody because, to my knowledge, he was sleeping on his friend's couch while I have her crib, dresser, toys, etc. set up in my room at my mum's house. I also have a much larger support system in the area, so even if I'm struggling financially, I have people I can lean on in those times of need to provide food, diapers, clothes, etc. for her, whereas he does not have that. And that's not a jab at him, that's just a plain fact. We met up the following day, went to the courthouse, filled and filed the final decree. I've already gotten the final decree signed by the judge via mail. It was weird seeing the sudden flip in behavior, but I welcomed it. And then he told me that he has a girlfriend and they're moving in together, yada yada. And my immediate thought was this poor girl is going to get used for her stability. So they are moving in together. She is older than him, has 3 kids of her own, a stable career, and owns a house. I met her, and she seems very nice and friendly. She also made some comments towards him that made me both laugh and feel like she will not tolerate his lack of effort when it comes to being a dad. Whether or not he is using her for her stability and a place to live is not my business. My only concern is the safety and well-being of my child. I did dip my toe into the dating world, but if I'm being honest with myself and everyone else, I'm definitely not ready for that right now, and I took my toe out and thoroughly dried it off. I have myself and my child to focus on right now. That is the update. Thank you to everyone who commented before and helped me to find some common sense, whether your words were gentle or not. It was much needed and much appreciated. In the comments, Tidy Brooklyn says, "You've been handling a difficult situation with maturity and a focus on fairness and your child's best interests. You're making thoughtful decisions and setting boundaries that are necessary for your well-being and your child's stability. It sounds like you've really handled everything with a lot of grace. Navigating this kind of a situation is no joke, and it seems like you're making the right choices for yourself and your kid. Just keep your focus on what's best for the both of you, and don't feel rushed into anything else. You got this. I don't know why these deadbeats keep thinking running to California will protect them. California don't play and will F them up with back child support and penalties. Oof. I'm concerned for the baby when it's his custodial time. Then again, I bet he just hands the baby off to his girlfriend, if he shows up for his time at all. He's either going to blow her off because he'd rather play happy families with his new girlfriend, or he'll expect the new girlfriend to do all the work like OP because he doesn't know how to look after a baby. Since the new girlfriend is older, she probably has an actual backbone unlike OP and will kick him out soon enough. Sometimes I really feel for people in tough situations, and sometimes I want to reach through the screen and shake people. Girl, you got evicted. Why does he still have access to your money? The lack of self-esteem among women is really tragic. We've been told for generations to put everyone else's needs in front of our own, that we're overreacting, or that we're too stupid to understand what a man needs. It wasn't until the 1980s that a woman could get her name on a mortgage, the 1970s that a woman could get her own credit card, and it wasn't until the 1960s that a woman could have her own bank account. And then we wonder why it's taking time for us to find our power and to stand up for ourselves. My mom was alive in a time before a woman could have her own bank account, and she's under 70. It is what it is. Unfortunately, situations like this happen, will continue to happen, and I don't think there's anything we can do to stop it. And obviously, it's not just men that do this. There are definitely deadbeat women that do this, but it just seems like men do it more often than women from my observation. I'm glad OP is out of there, actually, and it's very weird that he managed to find someone so stable and willing to take him in. Very unusual, but hey, a win is a win in my book. Onwards and upwards from here, OP. Thank you for the story. Our next post is by user I Hate PRP, titled, I, female 25, slept with my roommate, female 26. How do I talk to her about it? So a little backstory. We've been roommates for the past 3 years, and I consider her my best friend. We talk about everything, do everything together, and we know almost everything about each other. I've personally never had any legitimate same-sex experiences, and I don't believe that she has either. We are both single and routinely see each other with guy friends at our apartments and always talk about that stuff, and have never had any conversations about anything other than our typical female-male relationships. We'll cuddle sometimes or make other slightly intimate contact, but nothing I've ever considered outside platonic gesture, since we're really just comfortable with each other. I'd consider myself bi-curious. I'm not explicitly attracted to other females, but I've watched female-on-female porn, and always wondered what it's like, I guess. Well, last night we were having girl time with some wine, and admittedly got a little tipsy. Nothing crazy or anything though. She had a flight this morning to go back home, so her bed was cluttered with clothes and luggage, so she just decided to sleep with me in my bed since we were already in my room, watching a movie. There was a scene with an awkward kiss, and she started going off about something similar with a recent date she had, and all in good fun, we decided to quickly reenact it. We've kissed before at a party as a dare or some dumb shit, but nothing came of that. Well, long story short, we didn't stop, and kissing led to touching, and then that led to full-blown sex. And, it was effing incredible. She was constantly making sure I was okay, checking in before every next move, and just genuinely made me feel loved and respected throughout. It was almost hilarious at times, and I was surprised at how natural it felt. Like there was no really awkward moments, and we just got lost in the moment together. We ended up cuddling and fell asleep, but never really expanded on what just happened. I think that's when the awkwardness set in, and we both kind of ignored it to not make it awkward. Same thing this morning as we rushed to get ready and I dropped her off at the airport. We didn't talk about it and casually went on like we normally do. But I definitely felt like there was a 500-ton elephant in the room the entire time. What really sent me on an emotional roller coaster was when she kissed my cheek goodbye and the eye contact after as she smiled. It's been over 6 hours and I can't get her and last night out of my head, and it's driving me crazy. I keep looking at my phone, waiting for her to message me like I do when I first start talking to someone I really like, and I'm not sure how to process these feelings right now. How do I talk to her about this? I don't know how to even begin to start this conversation with her. I don't know what I'm feeling at the moment, although I'm pretty sure this whole thing has unlocked a part of me that I wasn't aware of. I'm terrified that this could somehow compromise our amazing friendship if I don't approach it in the right way, and I'm completely lost right now. Yes, I want to do it again. Yes, I want to explore this side of me with her. Yes, I find her attractive now. What can I say to make this clear without the possibility of creating other issues? In the comments, Nutella Novella says, I would just text her something simple like, "Last night was amazing. I'd like to talk to you about it, but can we wait until you get back if it's not something you want to talk about over the phone?" That leaves the door open for her to communicate if she wants, or to wait if she'd rather have that conversation in person. Good luck, you two. I'm rooting for you. I once hooked up with a friend for a little bit. Alcohol was also involved, and it was really sweet at the time. Just like she was as she was leaving, and then later, I had this awful feeling that I ruined the friendship. It's less complicated because it wasn't a same-sex situation, but I did ruin the friendship by being an aloof, scared, confused asshole about it. If I were you, I'd just be honest about your feelings when she comes back. If she's not gone for a long time, say basically exactly what you said in the second to last paragraph. You could do it on the phone too, depending on how long she's gone, but I think it would go better in person, and you're going to have to figure this one out either way since you're roommates. OP says, she's going to be gone about 2 weeks. I agree in person would be best, considering our close relationship. I'm just afraid I'll go crazy waiting that long because this has taken such an emotional toll on me in the last 24 hours. FaceTime? Do you normally text a lot? I definitely recommend being able to see each other's faces. If she lights up when you pop on the call, then you have a pretty good answer already. I think you're just going to be stuck in limbo for a couple of weeks otherwise, unfortunately. OP says, we text every day usually, and FaceTime often. It's almost like I could read her face this morning though, and I can't get it out of my head. And you know what, Sunny Jim? Honesty is the best policy. Just be forthright with her about it. You've already had sex. You're already roommates. The worst she can say is no. She's not going to go out there and embarrass you to everyone else that you guys know and be like, oh, look at this lesbian, bisexual weirdo. That would never happen. She would never traumatize you publicly like that, so there's no reason to think that she would do that, OP. Take the advice of everyone else in the comments and put your best foot forward, Sunny Jim. I believe in you. And now, onto the updates. After getting some good advice on here, I just decided to go for it and message her directly about what happened and asked if she wanted to talk about it. She immediately called me on video chat, wondering when I was finally going to say something. We had a really good conversation about everything and kinda started diving into some personal feelings for each other we either suppressed or ignored. Either way, we both came to the same conclusion that we want to give this a try and see where it goes. I contemplated if this was possibly just a knee-jerk reaction to feelings of lust or confusion after an intimate interaction, but after doing some soul-searching for the past couple of days, I realized that it's more than that. She's everything that I've been looking for. The time we spent together is always full of fun experiences and laughter. She understands me, and we can talk about anything. I'm comfortable around her and feel like she's my safe space when I need to let it out. She's my best friend, and while I don't expect that to be the reason this works, I think it's going to be good for me to finally be romantically involved with someone I know makes me happy already. At the end of the day, that is all I care about. Thanks again for those who offered support on my first post. I'm excited to see where this journey takes me. Am I the asshole for inviting my nephew to my wedding despite his estrangement from my brother? I, 33 male, am marrying my fiancé, 37 male, this winter. We're putting together the guest list to send the invitations out and have run into an issue over my nephew and my brother. My brother, 38 male, was 18 when his girlfriend told him she was pregnant. They ended up moving in together, and my brother decided to find work as a mechanic rather than go to college as he'd planned. My nephew was born a little while later. They got married when she told him that she was pregnant with their second kid, 15 female, and then had 2 more, both 10 male. Ever since my nephew was born, he's been literally one of my favorite people. I babysat him plenty of times, same with my other nibblings, and have spent my 20s as their gunkle. which, if you don't know, is gay uncle. My brother and I were close as kids, and I've been close with his kids as well. 5 years ago, my brother found out that my nephew wasn't his, and his now ex-wife had been sleeping with someone else at the time, and had suspected my oldest nephew wasn't my brother's since he was a little kid. They ended up getting a divorce, and my brother didn't seek custody of my oldest nephew, and said he didn't want to see him. He told me that he needed time to process, and would try to patch things up later. That idea was kind of ruined when my nephew turned up at my brother's apartment begging to talk. It turned into an argument between them. For context, our father had just passed a couple of months earlier, and during the argument, my nephew said something along the lines of, "No wonder my mum screwed somebody else. I bet Grandpa hated you." Oh God. That's rough. My brother cut things off then and there, and has refused to see my nephew since. I stepped in as the main male figure in my nephew's life, much as I dislike my ex-sister-in-law. I even took him out for his 18th birthday and took him looking at universities, and he now goes to my alma mater. I don't know how to feel about that one. That's crazy. How do you come back from something like that? I asked my brother how he wants to handle the seating situation if they don't want to be close together. My brother was angry that I'd even invite my nephew after everything that happened. He said that it would be like inviting my ex-sister-in-law. He's not family, he's just the prick who disrespected our dad. I said he's being petty and childish, taking the words of a scared and angry 14-year-old so personally. He was a kid who said something shitty because his entire world was falling apart, and the person he had relied on for his whole life was suddenly pulling away, and instead of being understanding and doing family therapy or something like a grown-up, my brother decided to give adult weight to a teenager's words and cut him off completely. My nephew has said he's okay with not going if it's causing an issue, but I told him not to be ridiculous. He's important to me, and I want him there for when I marry my person. I told him he shouldn't let my brother's inability to let go be his problem. My fiancé agrees with me. My mum and sister both say that I need to see it from my brother's perspective. I think he's just being petty. Am I the asshole? I'm on Team Gungle for this one. What the hell's that guy's problem? The kid was 14. Please, be for real. 14-year-olds say the darndest things. He's gonna say something to hurt your feelings because his feelings have been hurt. His whole world has shattered, as OP said. Like, yes, it's hard to come back from that one, but as an adult, you have to swallow your pride, I guess. Or just ignore what he said because it's a 14-year-old with a not fully developed frontal lobe. Bro is thinking emotionally. He's not thinking like, if I were in your shoes, how would I feel? From his perspective, the 14-year-old sees his dad abandoning him because of the actions of his mother, and not something the 14-year-old did himself. I'm on Team Gunkle for this one. Gunkle all the way, not the asshole. In the comments, info. Was it actually established that your nephew is not, in fact, your brother's child? Did your brother abandon him based only on suspicion? Not to say that your brother isn't wrong, he absolutely is. I'm just curious because you never clarified in your post. I can't understand why your mum and sister would be siding with him if no DNA test was ever done. Your brother seems like a 100% triple grade A asshole though. OP says, yes, I'm pretty sure the whole thing started over a blood typing assignment thing for biology class. Brother is O negative, ex-sister-in-law is A negative, nephew is A positive. Not the asshole by a mile. You're absolutely right to stand by your nephew and include him in your wedding. Your nephew is clearly an important part of your life, and you've stepped up to be there for him when his world fell apart. He needs that stability and love now more than ever, especially after being rejected by the person he thought was his father for most of his life. Your support likely means the world to him, and excluding him from your wedding to placate your brother's grudge would only add to the pain and rejection that he's already experienced. Let's break this down. Teenagers say stupid things. Your nephew was a kid going through an incredibly traumatic experience. Finding out that the man that you believe to be your father for your entire life isn't actually your biological father would turn anyone's world upside down. Teenagers are known for saying things they don't mean when they are scared or angry. Your brother should recognize that and not hold a grudge over something said in a moment of heightened emotion and pain. Expecting adult-level maturity from a kid in that situation is unrealistic and unfair. Your brother's reaction. While it's understandable that your brother was hurt by the revelation and the subsequent argument, his reaction is extreme. It's been 5 years, and instead of finding a way to heal or move forward, he's holding on to anger and resentment. His refusal to even consider reconciliation, despite your nephew's attempts to reach out, speaks more to his own issues than to anything your nephew did. The grudge isn't just about what was said, it's about unresolved pain and betrayal. But that's something your brother should work through, ideally in therapy, rather than taking out on a young man who is also hurting. Family dynamics. Your brother's demand to exclude your nephew is trying to force you to choose sides. Weddings are about celebrating love and bringing people together, not about deepening family divides. Your brother has no right to dictate who you consider family and who you want to share your special day with. By excluding your nephew, you'd be reinforcing your brother's narrative that his grudge is more important than the relationship you've built and the love that you have for your nephew. Your support matters. By standing by your nephew, you are showing him that he still has a place in the family, that he is still loved, and that he is not alone. This support could be pivotal in his healing process. It's also important for him to see that not everyone is willing to cast him aside based on circumstances beyond his control. Your brother's refusal to move past his anger is his issue to deal with, not yours. You are not responsible for managing his emotions or protecting him from his own unresolved feelings. By inviting your nephew, you are honoring the bond you have with him and making it clear that he matters to you. Your brother may need time to come to terms with that, but ultimately, his inability to let go shouldn't dictate your choices or your wedding day. Stick to your guns, and don't let anyone make you feel guilty for choosing love, understanding, and support over petty grudges. You are not being insensitive, you are being compassionate and kind, and that makes you far from an asshole. That boy lived with you all for 14 years and no one did what you did for him? Like his grandma? Didn't she feel something about losing her grandson? The dad? He saw all his life development until 14, took him to the doctors, changed diapers, playing with him, buying bicycle, picnics, Christmas, Halloweens, etc. And then cut that poor boy off just like this. Whoosh! Memories and emotions deleted. Bro, even if he's not a blood relative, you and your family are his family for 14 years. Not the asshole. Don't cut that child from your life. This right here is what I couldn't understand. Like OP's sister and mum weren't in the nephew's life for 14 years? They were just about to cut him off, snip snip? That's frickin' cold, man. He probably always regretted his life path a bit because he had plans and dreams at 18 and he cast them all aside for his son. Well, fast forward, the reason he chose to go down this path turns out to be false, and at that moment he felt robbed of his dreams. I get the initial hesitation, and that argument was a barrel of fuel on the fire. How do you blame the kid though? His only fault is saying mean things after being abandoned as a child. I don't blame the kid. Not at all. He is as innocent as can be, but I merely tried to explain what I think is going on in Dad's brain. If anyone is to blame, it's the boy's mum who lied and cheated. Yeah, not an easy one. Not an easy situation at all. I do want to know more about the rest of the family and how they just cut this boy off too, because at the end of the day, you raise this child, that child is still your son. How are you just going to cut your son off like that? It doesn't matter if he's not yours biologically at this point. You've been tied to him for 14 years. Are all of these people just emotionally damaged and able to just forget 14 years worth of emotional connection? That's crazy to me. That if that's true, that's a real cutthroat family right there. Oh my god. And now, onto the update. So I decided to follow some of your advice and talk to him about what happened and set some boundaries with my brother. So I saw him in person to talk things over. I told him that my nephew has been in my life for more than half my life. I was 14 when he was born. I've been his uncle for 19 years, and fundamentally, he's not the one that betrayed my brother, and while I can't imagine what must be going through my brother's head at the time, it's not my battle to fight, and even if it were, I'm not obligated to take it out on a kid who had nothing to do with it. What he said was extremely shitty, yeah, but we're talking about someone who was 14 at the time, and absolutely did not have the emotional maturity to handle the situation. I told him my nephew was open to a mutual apology. So bottom line, my nephew is invited and he's getting a +1, and I will seat him away from my brother if he wishes, but that is the most I will do. They can talk or not talk, kiss and make up or ignore each other all night, but I am not making it my fight. My brother said he understood and would think about it, and then a couple of days later, he drunk texted me a complete 180 and asked if I could invite my ex-sister-in-law too, which I think is probably because his RSVP included his new girlfriend as his +1, and she's 26, I think. I just know my niece complained it was gross that her dad's new girlfriend was a year closer to her age than his. Oh god. He's so messy. My brother at his best is charming, confident, looks-wise kinda like a chunkier version of me, so not bad looking, and he had no trouble pulling women post-divorce once he got his confidence back and lost weight. I declined his drunk request, but his girlfriend is nice, and I told my niece that girlfriend is inside the half+7, so she can't be completely grossed out. Since some of you asked about my nephew and ex-sister-in-law, I'll explain. She didn't know for sure that my nephew wasn't my brother's, but she strongly suspected that she was sleeping with both her affair partner and my brother at the time. For about a year after the divorce, my nephew would throw the deception back in her face every time she reprimanded him, until I sat him down and pointed out that the more people he pushes away, the fewer people he has in his corner when things go south. Bottom line, she is his mother. After the debacle with my nephew, my brother and ex-sister-in-law were more careful with my niece and the twins about not making adult problems their problems as well. Sorry there was no Scarlet A like many of you would have liked. She's not my favorite person, but I can sort of tolerate her. To answer the question about his bio dad, my nephew has expressed zero desire to meet him. He says he doesn't get why people think a perfect stranger could replace my brother, like being abandoned out of the blue never happened. My nephew RSVP'd yes, and is taking his they friend. His significant other is non-binary, and that's what they're calling themselves. So, fingers crossed, a happy ending. In the comments, Over Breakfast says, "It's great you're standing your ground and focusing on what's best for your nephew. Sounds like you've handled a tricky situation with a lot of empathy and fairness. Fingers crossed everything goes smoothly at the wedding. If there will be alcohol, get someone reliable to keep an eye on your brother to head off any trouble during the reception." Yeah, I feel like this is gonna go badly. Two people who haven't seen each other in years with so much unresolved trauma and hate, and then add drinking to the mix. Hopefully they are seated very far apart. Man, I just read the first post, and while I don't love your brother's reaction, I do think he's getting shit on by everyone in his life. You seem to be pretty non-supportive when his life was turned upside down. Hopefully it all works out. People tend to be non-supportive when you misdirect your anger at a child and not the person actually responsible for your anger and pain. Heaven forbid the guy want to take some time away to process what he went through and not have to live in a home with the personification of his wife's cheating. Referring to a child as a personification of someone's cheating is just vile. I mean, that's what it is. Sorry you don't like my wording. Maybe human embodiment would be more to your liking? Either way, it is a constant reminder of that. So, they never got an actual paternity test? Feel like I need to edit to say that I'm a nurse who works in stem cell transplant for hematology. I understand how blood and tissue typing/matching works. I also know that there are lab errors. Still feels like it warrants a call to Maury if an actual paternity test wasn't done. I know he's 85 and retired, but he really should just start the show up again just for a special on this one. When you have the rock-solid evidence of a middle school biology assignment, you don't hang around thinking about things or seeking therapy or taking cheek swabs of your children. You just look into the face of the child that's loved you for every moment of his life, shove his ass out of a moving vehicle and leave him to fend for himself in the wilderness. Come on, everyone knows that. Oh no. It's sad because it's true. I wish we would normalize parents having space to process really big news, especially since nephew had other adults that he could lean on. Bro should have been allowed the space to seek a therapist and talk through that life-changing information. Sister-in-law sounds like a piece of shit who thought that she'd better secure her position with more children that she was sure are OP's brothers. Man, what a family to be born into, huh? I'd just be asking Gunkle at this point to adopt me and get me away from that freak show. Because basing all of that on a biology assignment, which yes, it could be enough evidence, who knows, but you don't have the rock-solid evidence of the Maury Povich show and having a chair thrown at you. So I'm really not convinced that we should end the story there. There should be another part to this one. I need more content, and I need more rock-solid evidence that the child is in fact not his. And I need to see the dad get drunk at the wedding and cause a scene. I need to see it. I want to see what that's like. Hey, ex-wife. Hey, look at this. This is my 26-year-old girlfriend, huh? You'll never be the woman she is. Please, God, do it. That would be so funny. As always, OP, thank you for the story. Very much enjoyable. Hope all goes well in the future. If there's another update, please, God, make it and let us know. Our next post is by user RussoDoll86, titled, My male 24, girlfriend female 25's, mother female 55, took my Transformer toys to give to her grandson. My relationship with my girlfriend's mother has recently turned sour after she took my Transformer toys from my flat to give to her grandson. She's refused to give them back, saying that someone in their 20s shouldn't have toys in their flat. The issue is that they are collectibles in addition to toys. Since the majority of them date back to the 1980s, their combined value is estimated to be roughly $10,000 to $11,000. I haven't gotten them appraised, but that's what I'll put down if I make the report. You're now breathing manually, and also, the 1980s were 44 years ago. Isn't that crazy? I informed her of their value, but she brushed it aside by stating, well, they're just toys. I even told her that I'll go to the store to pick some toys for her grandson, but she doesn't want that, and refused by saying, they don't make 'em like they used to. You got soft hands, boy. They don't make 'em like they used to. My girlfriend and I have spoken about this, but she doesn't want to become involved and prefers that I handle it on my own. I told her that I've exhausted all other options, and that the next logical step is probably to report the items as stolen. Stealing something worth $10,000 isn't a misdemeanor either, this is felony level theft. Additionally, the mother took them by entering my flat using my girlfriend's key. My girlfriend said that she would speak to her mother and asked her not to do anything similar ever again, but that I should let this one go and not escalate the matter because if I reported it, we would be done. She said she would only talk and involve herself if I promised not to do anything about it, and I should value our 2.5-year relationship more than some plastic toys. I don't understand why she isn't valuing our relationship and getting my stuff back from her family. Yeah, OP, please be a doormat. I value my mum more than you. $10,000 is not as valuable as my relationship with my mother, okay? You have to understand that I like her more than you. Now be a good little doormat and lay down. I just want my things returned. I genuinely find it hard to believe that she is siding with her mother. We've already gotten into a few arguments over this over the past few days, and I don't think that things will get better. A part of me believes that her mother will likely sell them for a profit or something, and then purchase the cheaper ones for her grandson to give him on his 6th birthday. I don't want to involve the police and ruin my relationship with my girlfriend or her mother. Up until now, her mother has been nothing but nice to me. Is there a more effective approach to take? Advice? Suddenly get very interested in baseball and baseball paraphernalia and walk around outside of her house. That's a very good suggestion that I could make. OP, when told to go over and get them back, says, get them how? I don't know where they are. Most probably in their house, but I don't think she'll let me search her house for my stuff. Asking for it hasn't worked. Hang the hell on. She can enter your house to steal your shit, but she won't let you into her house to get your stolen property back. Bro, I can't even right now. Get the hell out of here. Tell your girlfriend to take you over there and let you in and look for your shit. Also, said child recipient of your stolen property is a relation to your girlfriend. Tell her to get you in touch with that child's family so that they can return your stolen property. If your girlfriend won't do either, then she's morally complicit in you being robbed. Are you sure you want to be with a girlfriend who supports her mother in theft? instead of just going and taking those toys and bringing them back to you? OP says, I see what you're saying, but other than this one thing, the rest has been good. I'm gonna smash my head into a wall. They always say this. Here's the thing. Her mother let herself into your home intentionally to steal from you. But she's not going to say anything. She's hit taking the key back. She's not demanding the things get returned. She's doing nothing. And she will punish you if you do the one thing you have left to do. Basically, your girlfriend is helping her mum steal from you, and I'm guessing agrees with her mum about your toys. Are you sure your girlfriend wasn't in on them being taken? And why is it okay for her to throw away your 2.5-year relationship so that her mum can literally steal from you? And also, why would you want to preserve a relationship with someone who thinks so little of you, your feelings, and your belongings? Go to the police? Screw me, you're more concerned about upsetting the person who stole from you and your girlfriend that supports that? She says the two of you will be done if you do report that. It's probably for the better, right? You're not the one who is jeopardizing the relationship. Her mother started the process, and your girlfriend is merely finishing it. She doesn't want to get involved when you're both being affected, but she's perfectly willing to when it's her mother. Mothers are important, but so are boundaries and, the law. And now, onto the update. I broke up with my girlfriend because she continued to take her mum's side and threatened to break up with me. Police report has also been filed, wrote down the estimated value to be $13,000 when the police asked me for it. Fingers crossed now. In the comments, Queen's Lily says, don't forget to get your locks changed. And OP says, already asked the building manager to do that. They should get changed by the end of the week. Does the theft of $10,000+ worth of stuff increase the potential charges that the girlfriend's mom could face? Not to mention that they may become damaged while in her possession if she doesn't try to sell them. OP says, according to the police, yes. That is why they asked me to add $3,000 to my estimation. They would have to be appraised once retrieved, though, for charges to be pressed. Everything will be out of the box now. There is no way that a kid understands value, unless she sold them to collectors, in which case she will have to pay you for them. OP says, she hasn't given them to him yet. She is waiting for his birthday, which is in a few days. I suspect she won't give them to him now after knowing what they are worth, and will try to sell them for profit. I suspect it'll come out that the girlfriend gave her mother permission to take the collectibles because she did not like them. I came to say this, 100% girlfriend resented the toys, and mum took matters into her own hands, with girlfriend's help and approval to take care of things. This wouldn't surprise me. So many adult women have problems with men collecting things, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. And now, onto the final updates. Hello everyone. I wanted to give you an update about my Transformers collection that was stolen by my ex's mother. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to recover any of them, but we settled for $7,000. This amount is definitely less than what I believe was fair, but at this point, I'm ready to move on. The past 2 years have been incredibly tough, and I just want to put this behind me. Thank you all for your support. It meant a lot to me when I needed it the most. In the comments, Saturo1207 says, I think it was your ex-girlfriend who told her mum to steal it. That's why she does not want to get involved to get it back. They planned it and just told you they gave it to her grandson so that you would stop. Settled. So I'm assuming she offered $7,000 if you dropped charges? Did they get given to the kid? Were they sold? What the actual hell? I'm petty and vindictive. If I could afford it, I'd tell my lawyer, let's just keep going at them until she's bankrupt. That's the trade-off. You can either receive a portion of, maybe even the majority of, the value of the stolen items, or you can get whatever is left after their lawyer and your lawyer have charged them for all their time, plus court fees and whatnot. Sure, you could run them into the ground, but it could very well get to the point where there is nothing to be gained by it. It could even cost you money. Besides, OP didn't say that that was the value they paid for the collection, but rather what it was currently valued at. In an ideal world, they'd be made whole, but they still could have come out of it with a decent profit. Sometimes it's smarter to cut your losses than to see it through to the end. Or, don't let perfect get in the way of good enough. The vindictive side of me wants to see OP sue them into the ground and bankrupt them, but that seems like a gigantic overreaction. Even though I think it'd be funny to read about, I understand why OP did what they did. This is just a tough lesson to lock up your collectibles. Make sure that you don't get burnt again by someone that you should be able to trust. But even in saying that, it's a kind of a double-think situation for me, because it's like OP should have been able to trust his girlfriend. I don't think that there was anything he could have done to prevent this situation. It's just unfortunate that it happened. He got burnt, he got 7k back out of it. Time to invest into another collection. Thank you for the story, OP. Our next post is by user Consistent Reason 349, titled, I, female 18, realized all the sacrifices my older brother, male 25, made for us. Just a bit of a content warning, trigger warning for those that need it. Lots of graphic mentions of domestic violence in this one, and like violence in general, so if you don't like that, you can skip this story. Created this account just for this story. Also, I want to keep in mind that I'm sharing this story from my perspective and from what my brother told me, so I don't know if anything is completely accurate, but I also don't have a reason to doubt the accuracy. My siblings and I grew up in a highly abusive environment. Besides my older brother, I have 2 younger siblings, a younger brother and a younger sister. Our parents were addicted to alcohol. They would drink every day, and it was like a forced round of Russian roulette every day. We either had luck, and they would just argue downstairs with each other, or they would come upstairs to release their anger onto us. And when they did, my older brother would stand guard at the stairs to make sure that we were safe. He would try to make them focus on him, so whenever they came upstairs, they would horribly beat him. And when they tried to enter any of our rooms, he would provoke them so they would focus on him and beat him until they were too tired to focus on us. While he protected us from them, he sacrificed his own childhood. And instead of doing something he liked, he educated himself and learned how to do programming each and every single day. He knew that something from the IT and programming sector would get him into a high-paying job, and his goal was to get out of there and take us with him, but to take care of us, he needed money. He also never had friends at school because he saw friends as a waste of time for his goals. Let alone the fact that he never properly finished his education because he was more worried about us than his own future. When he was 18, he did an internship for a local IT office that was looking for employees, and after a few weeks, he got the job and he was making good money. After he moved out, he found an apartment with enough space for all of us, and from then on, he tried everything to get us out of there. A bit later, my parents got arrested because my younger sister came to school with bruises from the beatings she took from our mum before. After my brother was gone, we had to take the beatings, but at least we didn't have to wait for long. After my parents got arrested, we started to live with my brother. He had to do a bit more stuff so that my younger siblings could live with us too, but he somehow managed to convince authorities to let them stay with us. I will never understand where he took all his energy from to do all this. I was still underage when we continued to live with him, but in his new job, he made enough money to make sure that we had it good, and he finally gave us the loving and caring home that we craved for such a long time. I adore him so much. He was so selfless all the time, and rather took care of us than himself. And yesterday, something happened that made me want to share his story. When I woke up, I went to get some breakfast, and when I passed my brother's door, I heard him crying in his room. I knocked at his door and went inside, and the moment he saw me, he wiped away his tears and smiled. He asked if I was fine. I didn't feel the need to answer, I just hugged him. I felt so sorry for him. He sacrificed everything so that we were safe. He couldn't hold in his tears any longer, and I told him that he should probably go to therapy because what he went through would be way too much to handle for anyone. I adore him so much, and I will forever be grateful for every sacrifice he made for us. He didn't deserve any of the things that our parents put him through. We as a whole never deserved what our parents put us through. They're supposed to be a safe space for all of us, but instead, they were abusers. I will help my brother, and I will make sure that he feels loved too. He deserves to have a safe space as well. He wants to be ours, so I want to be his. Thank you for reading. In the comments, Ms. Tripp says, "Lucky you all are to have that wonderful man as your brother. Let him know how much you appreciate him and love him, but also let him know that it wasn't fair and it's okay to have feelings about the position that he has been put in. I hope that you're able to find a therapist that can help you untangle this mess. I'm so sorry that you were put in this mess, but it's incredible that you all got out and are doing well. Hugs to you all. Your brother is a goddamn superhero. I rarely ever cry while reading a story, but this was effing awesome to read. And I got a bit misty-eyed, I'm not gonna lie. That man deserves every bit of happiness he has so desperately craved over the years. Now that his goal is almost complete, I'm assuming your younger siblings don't have too long to go before they graduate high school. He's going to need support finally getting started on actually living his own life. I say, when you get the chance, pay to take him out for some sort of childish adventure. Something that will allow him to live a little of that childhood that he missed out on before he gets too old to actually enjoy it. OP says, I actually thought about doing this. His birthday is in a month, and I thought about giving him a bit of the childhood that he never had. That's sweet, OP, and I really do hope that you give him that childhood that he never had, because I think he deserves it after everything that you guys have gone through. It takes incredible bravery and sacrifice to do what he did, sacrificing even having a social life at all just to make sure that you guys had it good. Or just had the bare minimum at all. Like, I can't imagine how he's feeling, and I really do hope that he gets therapy to deal with all of that, because that's quite the emotional load that he continues to hold on to. And now, onto the updates. My post is 3 months old, but I thought I might give you an update just in case you're interested. So in the last 3 months, I got a job and earned money myself. I wanted to take some weight off his shoulders and took care of many things so that he doesn't have to. After everything he went through, he deserves a break, and I'll try to make sure he learns to take care of his mental health, which is still pretty bad after everything that happened. I honestly underestimated how bad it was, and still is. I think that this shield he created to protect himself throughout the years of trauma is now going to crumble. But with it down, now all the emotions held back and all the pent-up pain come up, and emotional breakdowns happened way too often. He is aware of that and he tries to control it, but it doesn't work. He is in therapy, but it'll take a while for him to feel better. You see, my younger siblings and me were traumatized too, but at least we were kept safe enough by him so that we could express and let out our emotions. He never had that safe space. He had to bottle up everything. It's a good thing that now he has us as his safe space, but I just don't know if it's enough. He is the most important person in our lives, and we will be there for him. We make sure every day that he is loved. I mentioned in the previous post that his birthday is in a month. On that day, we got him a birthday cake and some presents. We celebrated with him, and it was wonderful. I know I probably talk too much about him, but I feel so bad that everything traumatizing that happened to him came from him protecting us. I can't stop feeling guilty, or that I should at least have interfered way earlier. He assured me that it's not my fault, and I know that, but it's hard to describe. Just imagine that you walk across a street and a car is about to hit you because you didn't pay attention before crossing the street, and someone else pushes you aside to save you. But then this person doesn't have legs anymore, and you can't stop feeling guilty because you know the person probably would have kept their legs if you had just paid attention earlier. That's how I feel. All I know is that I will be there for him. That is the least I can do. In the comments, I hope all of them are in therapy. This family deserves peace. The mama bear in me is so angry that any child has to go through this. Wishing them well, right? As a mum, I want to go punch these parents, then go make the kids a warm meal, read them stories, and tuck them into bed, 25-year-old included. I'm child-free myself, but some of these posts, man. I don't have much, but I want to take these kids out for a good time and then tell them how proud I am. I'm so glad that OP is such a good person. I'm watching my wife struggle with the fact her siblings are now facing that she is no contact with their parents. They have no idea what she did for them, the things that she shielded them from. It kills her inside not to have a relationship with them. OP's brother is an absolute beast of a person and deserves the best. I'm in the same spot as your wife with one of my sisters. The others get it, but the youngest thinks that I'm a liar and a terrible person, and it hurts so much. I think as she matures, she may realize the truth, and my door is always open to her, even if she still hates me. But I'm having to just kind of wait and try to get over the fact that this kid who I protected and who I love so goddamn much is disgusted by me. My own mother has repressed all of the abuse by my stepfather, and my siblings were too young to remember. So they have all collectively branded me a liar because of the things that I have mentioned throughout the years that my mum doesn't want to remember. I used to take my siblings into the closet under the stairs and barricade the door, while desperately trying to call 911, despite the fact that he ripped the receiver out of the wall, listening to him beat the shit out of my mom. I didn't need to be a shield for them often, but it did happen. The part that tears me up the most is not that it happened, but that if I ever told them all that, they would assume that I'm lying. I hate that they all think that I'm a liar when in actuality, I'm just the only one that remembers. Am I the asshole for refusing to meet my mum after she went no contact with me for over a decade? So a little background. I'm 35 male, and my parents divorced when I was 17. My dad struggled with alcohol and drug addiction, and my mum eventually left him, which I totally understood and supported. Living with him was impossible. He wasn't violent, but verbally abusive, and he spent all of our money on his habits. That was the last straw for my mum. After the divorce, my dad spiraled. He nearly overdosed and ended up in the ICU. I was living with my mum at the time, but I was scared that my dad would die, so I moved back in with him and my uncle's family. My mum was disappointed, but let me make my choice. Losing my mum, most of his friends, going broke, nearly dying, finally got through to my dad, and he promised he would get better for me. It was hard to watch, but he actually turned things around. My uncle paid for everything: rehab, therapy, medical bills, and after about 5 years, my dad was clean and somewhat healthy again. He even apologized to my mum, and she forgave him, though she told me later that it was only for my sake so that they could be civil at future events, like my graduation or wedding. Over those years, I kept in contact with my mum, regularly met with her. She had moved on and met a great guy, who she eventually married. She was much happier, and I was happy for her. I thought we had a pretty good relationship. That changed when I was 23. My mum asked me to come over, and she told me she was still angry and disappointed that I chose my dad over her after the divorce. She said I was ungrateful for everything she went through, putting up with my dad's shit, and then she hit me with something that still pisses me off today. She told me that she could see me becoming a drunk and drug addict like my dad because I stayed close to him. I don't drink, I don't do drugs to this day, and I had no idea where that even came from. I was floored. I thought we'd moved past all of that, but apparently she had been harboring resentment for years. Then she said that she wanted to go no contact with me because being around me brought back too many bad memories of my dad. She said she had found peace and happiness, and I was a reminder of all the pain she had been through. I didn't know what to say except, okay. I later found out from my cousin on her side that her whole family was pissed at me for staying with my dad back then, and they all went no contact with me for her sake, saying that I betrayed her. I haven't seen or heard from my mum since that day. Fast forward to now, my dad passed away 2 years ago from a heart attack, a result of his years of addiction. Despite being clean for over a decade, he had lingering medical issues. I recently got married, and my wife posted some pictures from the wedding on Facebook. My wife said that a woman claiming to be a cousin contacted her. I looked at the message, and it was a cousin from my mum's side asking if it was really me in the pictures with my full name. I told my wife to ignore it, but then I got a call from my uncle later that same day saying that my mum showed up at his house. For context, the house where my uncle lives currently used to be the home where I grew up with my parents. My uncle said that she asked him to arrange a meeting between us, saying she wants to apologize to me face to face. He told me that he can set it up if I want. But honestly, after all these years, I feel nothing for her except maybe slight resentment for thinking that I would turn out as an addict. I was going to say no right away, but my wife thinks that's a shitty thing to do, and I should at least hear her out, let her apologize, and then go back to never seeing her again if I want. She says despite what she did shield me from most of my dad's addictions growing up. Now I'm having second thoughts. Am I the asshole if I refuse to meet her? In the comments, Coco Almonds Rock says, not the asshole. You have to go with your gut. It has been 10 years, and she's discovered that you didn't become an addict, and instead have created a happy life. You are married, which means there could be grandkids in the future. Are you happy without her? If you've moved on without that side of the family, if you've created your own happy family, then why rock that boat? Your wife may not be able to let it go though, and if you turn your mother down, you're going to have a lot of flying monkeys contacting you and your wife to tell you how cruel you're being. I couldn't deal with that personally. I don't do drama. She made a choice and you've respected it. I'd say no and be ready with the block feature. Not the asshole, but I'm wondering if you're an only child. Her reasoning might be that since you got married, you might also be having kids and she wants to be a grandmother. You have to think about what her ulterior motive might be, and this is what I come up with. OP says, one of my reasonings is also this. She never cared before that cousin probably told her about the wedding pictures. OP, I was your wife. I tried to make my husband forgive his shit dad. My husband was passive about it until one day he got so freaking angry at me and exploded. Verbally only. It wasn't fair for me to push him, but I had a good family, and I just couldn't understand his position. I had to get over myself. Your wife needs to get over herself too. Tell her to get over herself and that you need her on your team. You don't need to be fixed. I mean, I'm just worried and hope that she doesn't go behind his back and contact his mother trying to fix things and bring them together. You see that way too much on here, and it always ends in disaster. Yeah, doing that behind your spouse's back basically says, I know what's best for you, so let me do it for you without your consent, which will result in divorce. A marriage is a partnership, not a controlling parent and helpless child. Communication is the foundation of a healthy marriage. Hopefully, OP's wife doesn't make this mistake, as it almost never ends well. Honestly, couldn't agree more with that one. If OP's partner wants to blow up the marriage and award herself a swift divorce, she can go right ahead and go behind his back. Though if I take her words at face value without understanding further what OP had to deal with from the dad's addictions, I can understand where she's coming from and why she said what she said. My wife thinks it's a shitty thing to do. I should at least hear her out, let her apologize, and then go back to no contact. Why should I allow her that opportunity? Because she shielded me from most of my dad's addictions growing up. OP doesn't provide a response on how that makes them feel and what they said back to their partner, just that they had second thoughts. I guess my thoughts on that would be, why did the mum allow her entire side of the family to outcast him, to treat him as lower than dirt for all of that time? And now that grandkids are back, not because she wants to forgive him and she wants to mend bridges, because it's her son, just because grandkids are coming into the picture and it'd look pretty shit if she wasn't a proper grandmother to her grandkids. Now she wants to mend bridges. I don't know. To me, it seems as though the mother's actions here are entirely selfish. She's only thinking about herself and her image. Like, I'm genuinely convinced this is not coming from a place of, I want to fix things with my son because I feel bad for what I did. I was wrong for saying that about him. I was wrong for casting him out of my life. I'd say not the asshole if you refuse to meet her. I don't believe that she is being genuine here. And now, onto the update. I didn't expect the amount of comments I got on the first post. Thank you to everyone who weighed in, whether you agreed with me or not. There were so many different perspectives, and I've taken time to think about everything. First, I want to talk about this. A few thousand of you said that I abandoned my mum when I went to live with my dad. It looks that way when I think about it now. However, I feel as though I never abandoned her in any way. I loved my mum dearly, and I loved my dad too. When she told me she was divorcing dad, I helped her pack, and I left with her, as I thought at that time that dad was a lost cause. I went back about 7 months after the divorce when my dad was fighting for his life. That was when he promised me that he would change and get help. I chose to stay with my dad after getting permission from Mum. As I said in my first post, she was disappointed, but agreed that Dad needed me. Even after I chose to stay with my dad and uncle, I always stayed in contact with her. My mum and dad lived about 20 minutes apart, and I made sure to see my mum regularly, 4 to 5 times a week at least. I would talk to her every day too. We went on trips together, ate meals together, and hung out as much as we could. When she moved in with her new husband, who I will call John, she always included me in her new family's life. John was good to me too. For all that time, there was not even one inclination of the resentment that my mum had for me when she blindsided me with the decision to go no contact. I was completely shocked. She never expressed any anger or frustrations towards me, we never argued, and she never showed me that she was upset about my relationship with my dad until that day. After she blocked me from everyone, I tried for a couple of years to reconnect, but eventually gave up when I moved out of the city. And now on to the update. A lot of you told me to meet her for closure, while others said not to bother. After thinking about it for a while, I decided to meet her and was going to tell my uncle to set up a meeting with her, but before I could tell him, my uncle called me again, 3 days after my mum showed up at his house. He told me that she came by again and gave a letter for me, and she apologized for bothering him and that she won't be coming by again, and she didn't want to raise my hopes unnecessarily and hoped that I would understand after I read the letter. Uncle said she sounded very sincere. I asked my uncle to send me pictures of the letter. It's not that long, and I'll summarize the important bits. The letter was a mix of apologies and well wishes. She wrote that she was sorry for how she treated me back then, especially for saying that I'd turn out like my dad. She said she was going through some relationship issues with John, and then seeing Dad getting better made her feel bitter because Dad never tried for her. She thought her second marriage was failing, and everyone around her was happy while she was miserable. She said she listened to some bad advice, and she regrets it. She said she regrets taking her anger all out on me when she could have gotten help. She said she made up lies to her side of the family so that they would side with her. I don't know what these lies were, as that was all she wrote. She said she got help a couple of years after she went no contact, but she was too ashamed to reach out to me. She saw the wedding pictures and is happy for me, wishing me the best in my life. She wrote that while she initially wanted to meet me, after some reflection and with her family's advice, she realized it was for selfish reasons and for her sake only. She apologized again and said that it's better if we keep things the way they are. She ended the letter by saying she's happy and she doesn't want to drag up the past. She apologized once more and wrote that she won't contact me again for both our sakes, and asked me not to contact her as well and wished me and my wife well. So there's that. Honestly, it's probably the best outcome, and I'm at peace with it. I'm happy with my life, and I'm glad that my mum is happy with her life. Like she asked, I am not going to contact her, but I will keep my door open if she wants to meet in the future. I also realized how stupid I was to hold on to my resentment of her comment about me becoming an addict. I also want to address the comments that said my wife was overstepping. My wife knows all about my past and about my mum. She is a kind soul who sees the best in people. Like I said in a comment in my first post, she was just looking out for me. She wanted me to have no regrets. She did apologize for saying that it would be shitty not to meet my mum, but it's all good. We both know each other's boundaries, we communicate well. Right now, we're planning our honeymoon, and life is good. Thanks for all the supportive comments and messages, I truly appreciate it. Bye. In the comments, wow, all those years just to come back and tell him that she wants to be no contact again. Because she's a piece of shit. Instead of leaving the ball in his court, she noticed that he didn't immediately respond and jumped back to no contact to avoid any rejection. What a failed human she is. If her life is nothing but unhappiness and loneliness from here on out, she's earned it. Bingo. He didn't jump at the chance to have her back in his life, didn't fawn over her that all is forgiven so she could feel validated. All about her, and that she admitted to manufacturing lies to make sure he was completely cut off by her entire family is demonic. Even though Opie is happy with his new family and somehow finds his closure, his mother is still the same selfish, vile person. She admitted to spreading lies about her own son to her family to make them side with her, but never says what the lies she told were and didn't tell the truth to them, so she's not regretful as she claims. Also, if you think about it, she reappeared in OP's life just to abandon him again. I think she decides to go no contact again with OP because she's scared of facing the consequences of her actions. If OP reappears in her life, her extended family will know what she did to him. As harsh as these comments are, and I know these are the comments that I picked, they're not indicative of all the comments that were on this post. I agree with them. I feel like the mother hasn't changed. I feel like I was right in my assessment that she's only apologizing to make herself look and feel good. Does she lack the self-awareness of what abandoning you again will do and repeating that cycle will do to you? That is genuinely so cruel of her. OP deserves so much better than someone that hurts him over and over again like this. Like, yes, she did shield him from the father who had addiction issues, who was hurting his family, who was hurting her, and he refused to change for the better for her. That all really sucks, and yes, I completely empathize with those things. But I feel like through all that hurt, you should understand what the best course of action for you in the future is, and not hurt your son again. Her actions initially abandoning him, and then once again abandoning him after giving him false hope, are things that she could have thought more critically about, and thought, hey, this is the wrong choice, I'm not going to repeat the mistakes of my past, yet she willingly snatches defeat from the jaws of victory. I don't have empathy for her. She could have chosen so many different things to do, but she continues to hurt OP, and I just hope that she stays gone. Thank you for sharing your story with us, OP. I very much appreciate that.